Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Jujutsu Kaisen. Curse Back, Life Choices, Kaleidoscope of Openings. Chapter 21. In the medical room. What? Role-playing. Shalo's face was full of confusion and he looked at the three people opposite. That's right, this time I, Mei and Nanami will play your students, aren't you excited? Shoko is wearing a white medical robe with a burgundy shirt underneath, looking like an intellectual big sister. Maybe I am too busy at work, causing dark circles to often hang in the corners of my eyes. Ieri Shoko held her chin and looked at Shalo with interest. I didn't notice it before, but when I got closer I saw that this guy looked quite handsome. She was very excited at the moment, and she had to endure a lot of hardships in order to investigate Shalo's identity. This time it's this guy's turn to serve himself. Moreover, I have been staying in the infirmary all year round to treat injured people. Although today is a dangerous mission to get rid of the cursed spirit. But for her, it's like a relaxing vacation. Mei joked. Our Shoko is the treasure of the magic college, you must protect her. As for whether Nanami and I live or die, it all depends on whether you have a conscience or not. As if she thought of something again, she chuckled and leaned close to her body, stretched out her white jade finger and drew circles on Shalo's chest, and said coquettishly. If the students do something bad later, teacher Shalo doesn't have to show mercy, just punish him as much as he wants. After saying that, she felt a little blushing and shy. But after what happened last night, when facing Shalo, I couldn't help but have the idea of teasing this mysterious little brother in front of me. Hiss. Shalo took a breath of cold air. Why is Mei's painting style getting more and more wrong? In my impression, she is a brave and mature lady. Why does it seem like there is some hidden attribute of shackles now? Shalo shook his head, put aside his random thoughts, and looked at Shoko. If I remember correctly, there is only one warlock in Shoko, and that is the inversion warlock. However, her inversion warlock is somewhat different. She can directly use the inversion warlock to derive positive energy, which can treat others very efficiently. The general inversion warlock can usually only produce effective treatment for himself, and has little effect on other people. All in all, it is no exaggeration to say that she is the treasure of the entire high school. It seems that I have to focus on her. Nanami was wearing a smart suit and her blonde hair was slicked back. He glanced at the time. Let's start quickly. Try to finish before 6 o'clock, and refuse to work overtime. Shalo agreed. First of all, he wanted to test the ninjutsu he had just learned. Secondly, the gears of the plot have begun to turn. During this period, Gojo Satoru had a mission and was not in the high school. Itadori, Fushiguro Megumi, and Rosa Kugizaki should have received urgent missions now. They need to go to Nishitokyo City AG Juvenile Home to perform a rescue mission. But how could he give up the opportunity to compete with Susanoo? As the Sharingan fusion took longer and longer, his character was affected to some extent, and the genes of militance took root in his body. The desire to fight gradually emerges, and I hope Sanji Susanoo will not disappoint him. I hope I can catch up in time after this is completed. Several people took Aijichi's luxury car and arrived at the crime scene. This is an abandoned construction site, now shrouded in black air. The surrounding area has already been filled with yellow lines that prohibit traffic. Aijichi adjusted his glasses. According to preliminary investigation, a special curse spirit was spawned in this abandoned factory. The condition of the workers inside is unknown, but I'm afraid it's more dangerous than good. As for the specific reason for the birth, it is unknown. According to local residents, it is because the boss's endless oppression caused the resentment in the man's body to gradually accumulate. After jumping off the building and dying, he transformed into a special curse spirit. However, the strength of this special level curse spirit is not very strong. It is just suitable for Shalo's assessment. After the introduction, Aijichi prepared to set up the tent, etc. Mei interrupted his spell and looked at Shalo. Since it is your assessment, please let Shalo do it in person. Shalo froze on the spot, his eyes blank. This is a bit embarrassing. It seems that I haven't learned how to arrange accounts yet. Gojo Satoru didn't seem to have taught himself anything, and he almost let himself go the whole time. Shiryu-san, hurry up and arrange the arrangements. Wait a minute, you don't even know how to arrange accounts, right? Nanami looked at Shalo in disbelief. The other people also looked at him in surprise. Shalo shrugged helplessly. I'm impressed, a person who can kill special level cursed spirits alone can't even arrange accounts. If this makes him a teacher, how much noise will be caused when the cursed spirit is removed? They all know Shalo's strength, and he is probably the strongest among first-level conjurers. However, this does not include Mei Mei. After all, she has tasted Shalo's unpredictable illusion. In her mind, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a special one. There's really nothing I can do against you. Shoko stepped forward and made a hand gesture. Remember me, born from darkness, darkness to darkness, all filth and residue, all filth and filth will be eradicated. Soon, Shalo successfully arranged the account under her guidance. The entire sky gradually dimmed, and a black veil shrouded the abandoned factory, separating it from the outside world. In this way, the outside world cannot see the situation here. This is also a spell that must be learned by spellcasters in order to avoid causing too much noise and panic among the people when removing the cursed spirit. Shoko showed a pleased smile. Not bad, I learned it right away, much faster than I did back then. After setting up the account, Ijichi left, and Shalo and others entered the construction site. In an abandoned construction site, there are scattered steel bars and red bricks everywhere around, with sharp claw marks on them. The pungent smell of blood came from the front. When I got closer, I saw corpses strewn across the field, not a single corpse was complete. On the high steel frame, there were densely packed headless corpses hanging, and blood dripped down the rusty steel pipe. Is this a construction site? It's not an exaggeration to say it's a hell on earth. Even the experienced Mei Mei and others have never seen such a tragic scene. Shoko sighed. I'm afraid everyone on the entire construction site will die. As a doctor, she had seen too many wounded spellcasters, but she still couldn't help but shudder. She frowned and thought to herself, can being squeezed by the boss produce such a big resentment? But after thinking about it, she still didn't say it. After all, she definitely didn't have as much experience with U-curling as Mei Mei and Nana Midi. Natsuliu sensed something was wrong through his Sharingan. Perhaps it was the Sharingan's meticulous observation ability that allowed him to clearly observe the density of the remaining spell power in the air. Although the amount is not much, the density of the spell power far exceeds that of the human-faced worm last time. He guessed that the special spell spirit this time might be far stronger than what he had encountered before. To be on the safe side, he took out the fan from the Kamui space. Seeing this scene, Mei Mei said with a smile, "Why don't you put on the mask together? It will look more mysterious when paired together." Shalo's mouth twitched, wearing a sullen face. Mei Mei rolled her eyes at him rather charmingly. Hey, what are you two talking about? Why can't I understand? Shoko and Nanami looked at the two of them with scrutinizing eyes. Mask, mystery, tisk, there's something wrong with these two people. Seeing their confused reactions, Shalo didn't explain. However, it can also be seen that Mei Mei did not inform anyone else about what happened that day. Okay, this is a secret between Shalo and me, please don't worry about it. She put away her smile and said seriously, this time you play our teacher. You will handle the situations we encounter later, and you can also instruct us on our actions. Anyway, please take on the role of teacher as soon as possible and be sure to protect the lovely students who are waiting for food. The words just fell. Boom. A group of crawler-like monsters with wings fell down, disgusting mucus dripping from the corners of their mouths. They stretched out their long forked tongues and rushed towards several people. They were very fast and arrived in front of several people in the blink of an eye. Boom, boom, boom. That was the sound of the wings of the cursed spirit passing through the wind, and the sound of sharp front claws cutting the air. Mei Mei and others frowned slightly, feeling something was wrong. Judging from the fluctuations emitted by these cursed spirits, they are even close to the first-level cursed spirits. In the past, when they carried out the mission of exterminating super-level cursed spirits, they encountered gatekeeper cursed spirits, up to level 2. But these cursed spirits in front of me are infinitely close to the level of first-level cursed spirits. A few people didn't take action. This time it was Shalo's assessment. They wanted to see how Shalo could deal with these cursed spirits. It must be his weird space distortion technique, right? However, Shalo just jumped up and slowly rose into the sky, looking at the more than 10 cursed spirits rushing towards him at his feet. Under the doubtful gazes of the three people, they clapped their hands and puffed up their cheeks. Chakra is like a gushing spring water, gathering in the throat. Fire escape. Fire extinguishes. Raging. A ball of red flame spurted out, and when the flame touched the air, it instantly expanded to 20 times. The flame instantly turned into a sea of 100 meters of fire, instantly drowning the cursed spirit below. The terrifying heat wave air current stung the skin of the people behind them, as if they were being burned by fire. Several people's pupils shrank and their bodies retreated violently. Mei Mei even stopped in front of a few people and used the magic spirit to form a blue magic spirit barrier. In this way, she was able to withstand the aftermath. This move is Madara's famous stunt. But it took several thousand ninjas using water escape at the same time to be able to withstand it. Of course, Shalu's current amount of cursed spirit chakra is obviously not yet as terrifying as Madara. But even so, the power is terrifying. The fire escape lasted for more than 10 seconds. Several people looked around, but there was no trace of the cursed spirit anywhere. The ground covered by the flames was scorched black, with a faint black smoke rising. There is still a faint smell of burnt meat in the air, which should be emanating from the cursed spirit. But soon, they were burned to ashes by the continuous high temperature, not even ashes were left. Call. Shalu slowly landed and breathed a long sigh of relief. The first time I used ninjutsu, I felt pretty good, but my cheeks were a little sore. Another point to note is that the amount of chakra released is not controlled well, and too much is consumed at one time. After all, he doesn't have almost unlimited chakra like Jia-2 Jiban. It seems that he needs to practice a lot, otherwise he will not be able to withstand such consumption. Feeling the remaining chakra in his body, Shalu thought of the Blue Master Kakashi. Shalu lowered his head and murmured to himself, "Hey, it would be great if I could also get unlimited chakra." Forget it, don't aim too high, just take it step by step. Maybe you can get something like this in subsequent mission rewards or in the mall. Why are you standing there in a daze? Keep moving forward. The special curse spirit hasn't been found yet. Besides, what are you all doing so far away? He looked at the three people who had retreated dozens of meters away and stared blankly at him. As Shalu's words came out, several people came back to their senses. Recalling the horrific scene when I first arrived, I still felt frightened and took a deep breath involuntarily. Sister Mei Mei, is he really just a first-level magician? Shoko held Mei Mei's arm and stammered. There were still a few tears hanging from the corners of her eyes, which were the tear glands secreted by the heat wave just now. She looked at Shalu as if she were a monster. All in all, this was the first time she had seen Shalu take action. In her opinion, Shalu is very powerful, but at most she is about the same as Nanami, and maybe even worse than Mei Mei. But this time, I have a completely new understanding of Shalu. He was obviously a person who didn't even know how to arrange accounts just now, but he displayed such terrifying flames in the blink of an eye. No, this is no longer a flame, but a sea of fire. Mei Mei didn't know how to answer at this moment. Her red lips were slightly opened and her eyes were staring at Shalu with extremely complicated eyes. How many secrets does this kid have hiding, or what is his sorcerer? Weird space spells, manipulating people's hearts, unpredictable illusions, and now a sea of fire is sprayed directly from the mouth. And his physical skills are not inferior to his own. Is he really an all-powerful hexagonal warrior? Is there anything else he doesn't know? Even Gojo Satoru from Six Eyes wasn't that perverted at this age, was he? Looking back on what happened that night, I was really lucky. If Shalu really wanted to kill someone and silence him, could she escape from him? Tisk, Yaga Masamiki, he actually asked her to track and monitor such a terrifying person. Nanami, who has always been steady, said, "Teacher Mei Mei, is it my imagination? I feel like I may not be able to beat Shalu." In his opinion, if such a large range of flames were used on himself, it would definitely be impossible to avoid them all. The consequences of being burned. Mei Mei, no need to feel it, that's it. Shalu came to the three of them and urged, "Hey, don't be in a daze, follow the teacher and kill the special curse spirit." He still had to rush to play the second half with Susanoo. Meanwhile, a beautiful view on the beach. A man wearing a blue plaid shirt, sunglasses, and sutures on his face was lying leisurely on a bench, enjoying the sunshine. This person is exactly what he is. I really can't do anything about you. Didn't we agree to wait for the Clepsydra Flower Royal Road to come before we can act together? Sha Yuji's Kensuo gentle voice sounded from my ears. The tone was just teasing, not blaming. The real person smiled and waved his hand. It's just a little fight before the main course begins. I just want to test how powerful the rumored most twisted curse with no upper limit can be. Don't you want to know, Sha Yu? You have such a big appetite. Love is the most twisted curse. Sha Yuji knows this very well. After all, this body was once a super magician. But in the end, he was defeated by the power of pure love. Sha Yuji lifted his chin and squinted at the real person with expectation. Forget it, I've just been bored lately, so let me take a look at what kind of power the so-called love can exert. It would be better if a few first-level conjurers could be killed, so Gojo Satoru would take action. Just let Genrin and the others see how terrifying it is for a man who suppresses the entire magic world with one person's power. Sha Yuji looked at the real person. But speaking of which, how did you create such a super-grade curse spirit? Haha, actually it has nothing to do with me. The worker was exploited by his boss, and his beloved wife was jealous of her beauty because of her beauty. She was assigned a high-risk position that did not belong to her, and she unfortunately fell to death. Ha ha ha, how about it? Humans in this world are much scarier than cursed spirits, right? Having said this, the real person stood up and faced the sea, spread his arms, letting the sea breeze blow on his cheeks, and his long blue hair fluttering in the wind. Dirty, selfish, jealous, greedy, there are too many to mention. They are not worthy of being the masters of this world. Sha Yu, I feel more and more that everything we do is just, and our existence is simply for heaven. Okay, Wei, Sha Yuji smiled knowingly. Then, what did you do? The real person's tone was gloomy. I just weaved a beautiful lie for that worker. For example, if you kill 100,000 people and collect the blood, you can resurrect your lover. Ha 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 ha, I'm such a kind genius. Unknowingly, Shaolu and others had reached the deepest part of the abandoned construction site. Along the way, Shaolu turned into a ruthless bulldozer, pushing all the way. Even the first-level curse spirit killed 2 of them instantly. In this regard, Mei Mei, Shoko, and Nanami can only say, the younger generation is terrible. Ahead, a long bloody red line appeared on the ground. At first glance, the red line was composed of the blood of corpses. It seems to be telling them that once they cross the line, it means stepping into hell. Seeing this, the 3 people looked solemn. It can be clearly felt that the fluctuations in mana power in the area within the red line are extremely manic and huge. Presumably, the special grade curse spirit is in front. Shoko, remember to follow closely, the show is about to begin. After Mei Mei reminded her, she then looked at Sha Lu, we are about to fight the big boss. The teacher can instruct the students to take action. For example, positioning, coordination, etc. Doesn't teacher Sha Lu have any ideas? After Mei Mei's reminder, Sha Lu remembered that the assessment included teacher-student interaction. After some thought, Sha Lu looked at the 3 of them with a mischievous smile. Then would you please stand in the back and deduct 6 for the teacher? Question mark question mark question mark. As soon as these words came out, the 3 people's faces darkened and they looked at Sha Lu with contempt. This is the only chance that can drive these 3 teachers. As a result, this kid asked them to stand aside and shout 666. I really want to crack his head open and see what kind of brain circuit this guy has. Without any hesitation, several people crossed the red line made of blood. The moment the line was crossed, boom, countless piercing screams came from the eardrums, and the sky turned from the previous darkness to blood red. Countless corpses were suspended in the sky, blood dripping down their arms. There are so many of them, it's like a bloody rain has fallen from the sky. In front, a worker whose flesh and blood had been separated, with almost only a skeleton left in his body, was sitting high on a pile of corpses, lowering his head in thought. Why can you tell that he is a worker at a glance? Because it still wears the unique yellow safety helmet of construction site workers on its head. Feeling the coercion emanating from it, Sha Lu was thoughtful. Presumably, this is what Aijichi said, a special curse spirit that was transformed by hatred due to the increasing oppression by the boss. Is the area within the red line its area of survival? Judging from the breath alone, it seems to be much stronger than the special one last time. The faces of Mei Mei and others became more solemn, and at the same time, speculations could not help but arise in their minds. This curse spirit is very strong. The eyes of the special level curse spirit lit up. Conjurer. Great. That gentleman once said that the flesh and blood of a curse master can bear the weight of 10,000 people. As he said that, he jumped down and stretched out his hands to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ha 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 ha. God is really helping me. 4 conjurers. One step closer to resurrecting Swallow. Come on, please give me your precious flesh and blood, please. Although there was almost no flesh and blood on its face, everyone could still feel that its empty eyes were full of extreme desire. Shalo was speechless. Is this super-grade curse spirit crazy? And why does the swallow in its mouth sound familiar? Where have I heard it before? His reaction was different. When Mei Mei and others heard what it said, their hearts sank. Shoko said in a solemn tone, "Oh no. I have read Aijichi's analysis report, and Yanzi is the wife of that worker." In other words, the reason why this super-grade curse spirit was born was not because of the boss's oppression, but because of love. As her voice fell, Mei Mei barely hesitated and pulled her wrist to withdraw from the red line. But what greeted her was a bloody barrier. Love. Just because the cause of birth was changed, is the reaction so big? Shalo looked at the sudden reactions of the 3 people, especially Mei Mei, who had always been frivolous and casual, with a rare expression of seriousness. He also realized that the situation was not simple. Love. Shalo seemed to think of something. This sentence seemed to be said by Gojo Satoru. What do you say that is? Nanami on the side spoke. He seemed to see Shalo's doubts and lowered his voice. Love is the most twisted and the most obsessed. The highest level of a curse spirit is the special level, but there is also a gap between the special levels, and the gap is even very big. That's the end of the assessment. The 2 of us will work together to eliminate this special curse spirit. Mei Mei will ensure Shoko's safety. Obviously, the 3 of them, who were in the same class as Gojo Satoru, knew it very well. And he also said personally that once you encounter a super-level curse spirit spawned by love, it is best to avoid it. Because even if he solves it, it will take a lot of effort. They agree very much with this. After all, this is what happened to Raka, who resides in Otoko Yuta's body. They have seen how powerful Li Shang is, although the curse spirit in front of them has not yet reached that level. However, it cannot be solved by one person alone, only by joining forces can we eliminate it. Besides, there is Shoko in the team who is not good at fighting. Her safety must not be threatened. After hearing what Nanami said, Shalo also remembered it. No wonder, he felt something was wrong from the moment he entered. However, wouldn't it be better for him to be stronger? What's the point of being defeated in 2 moves? There are actually 2 difficult guys. The special grade curse spirit tapped the helmet on his head with his bone-white index finger, thinking. The difficult guys it talks about refer to Mei Mei and Nanami. It feels like it can pose quite a threat. As for Natsuryu, who had never revealed his Sharingan, he was not taken seriously by it. Not to mention the female doctor in a white coat, there was almost no threat signal. Moreover, looking at the performance of several people, that doctor seemed to be very important to them. Hey hey hey, it let out an evil laugh and already had a countermeasure in its mind. I saw the solemn gazes of Mei Mei and others. A special magic spirit, put your hands on your chest and form a special gesture. Low and hoarse voices came from all directions and penetrated deep into my mind. The field expands. The bone phase is derived. With the sound of it falling, several people just felt trapped in absolute darkness. Tick-tock. With the sound of water drops falling, ripples appeared in the dark field. Immediately afterwards, the bloody sky reappeared. Rub 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 rub. Countless skeletons spawned from the feet of the super-grade curse spirit. The area was instantly covered with it. These skeletons regard it as the king, and build it into ladders as if they are alive, sending it up to the bone throne at the highest point in the domain. Mei Mei, Nanami, Shoko's pupils contracted violently. Field, this super-level curse spirit actually controls the domain. Although from an architectural point of view, it is still an incipient field and many places are not perfect. However, it is still difficult to deal with. The information error this time is huge. I never expected that this time I would encounter a cursed spirit with a domain. Mei Mei frowned. This is terrible. This cursed spirit was difficult to deal with originally, but now it is even more troublesome to fall into its territory. She raised her giant axe and blocked Shoko behind her. Shoko, you must hide behind me. At this time, a crisp sound of lighter sounded. Call. Shoko lit a cigarette, exhaled a long breath, and said calmly. Why is it so troublesome? The three of you don't worry about me for now. It should be easy to surround and kill this cursed spirit, right? Don't really think of me as a weak woman. Both her face and tone are very relaxed, but everyone who knows her knows that. When Shoko is highly stressed or sad, he will subconsciously light up cigarettes and drink alcohol. Nanami, are you kidding me? You can't be the one who has the problem. Shalo looked at the scene in the field with excitement. Is this the realm? But I traveled back in time and felt the atmosphere of the realm in person for the first time. It's really, really oppressive. If you kill it, you should get a lot of points, right? The special level spell spirit sitting on the throne above laughed wildly. You were right, if you all work together to besiege me, I will have a hard time even in the field. But don't forget, this is my domain. Bone hand repulsion. Follow it with a roar. Countless bones in the field combined into a pair of big hands, and almost without any hesitation, they slapped Mei Mei and Nanami. Attacks within the domain are guaranteed to hit. Boom. This blow directly knocked the two of them out of the realm. The white skull jaw of the special grade curse spirit opened strangely, looking at Natsuliu and Shoko as if looking at prey. Ha ha ha, the two difficult people are sent away. Then, it's time to hunt. The scene changes. Outside the domain. Bang bang bang. The violent attack hit the bloody barrier hard. Mei Mei and Nanami, one holding a giant axe and the other holding a long knife, were frantically attacking the area of the special spell spirit. Their expressions were extremely solemn. This is bad. This cursed spirit is so devoid of martial ethics. Originally, if the three of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill this special curse spirit. But who would have thought that this special level curse spirit would directly exclude them from the territory? And also deliberately left behind the seemingly weaker Natsuliu and Shoko, who was not good at fighting. Nanami's face was extremely heavy. The realm of the special curse spirit cannot be broken in a short time. As a newcomer, Shalo is certainly unfamiliar with the field, and it is still unknown whether he can sustain their support. As for Shoko, thinking of this, he clenched his fists. Attacks within the area are bound to hit, and the cursed spirit's move is obviously aimed at Shoko. Therefore, he could hardly imagine the possibility of Shoko surviving. No, this is not the way to go. I'll call the high school and ask them to send a special cursed tool. Only in this way can it be possible to quickly break down the domain barrier. Mei Mei nodded seriously and increased the intensity of her attack again. Of course, her main concern is Shoko's safety. As for Shalo, she has seen his, all abilities, and should be fine. But if the cursed spirit uses Shoko to restrict Natsuliu, it will be troublesome. Magic High School, in the principal's office. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell. Yaga Masamiki picked up the phone impatiently. But when I saw that the caller was Nanami, I was a little confused. Why is he calling at this point? After getting along for so many years, 9 out of 10 sentences Nanami said on the phone were complaining about why she had to work overtime again. He looked at the time. Isn't it just past 4 o'clock? Are you starting to want to get off work? There's Mei Mei, who only takes money, Nanami, who refuses to work overtime, and Shalo, who just arrived and has food and housing included. Hey, I feel tired. However, he picked up the phone immediately and said in a calm tone, Hey, it's not time to get off work yet, Nanami. An accident happened, listen to me carefully. A magnetic male voice came from the other end of the phone. A few minutes later, Yaga Masamiki hung up the phone with a dull expression. Boom, the desk is disabled. Ijichi, come here. Following his roar, Ijichi, who was guarding the door, immediately bowed and walked in. Although he didn't know why the principal suddenly became so angry. But, just bow your head. The information is wrong, that special curse spirit was born out of love. Aijichi's pupils narrowed sharply. With just one sentence, he understood immediately. It's over. This intelligence error may implicate the entire auxiliary supervision department. Yaga Masamiki threw a key. Give it to me immediately and send the special grade cursed tool. Give me the maximum speed. Yes, Mr. Principal. After Aijichi left, Yaga Masamiki collapsed and scratched his head. It's just nonsense. These people didn't care about testing Shalo, but they even brought Shoko into the fun. What kind of teacher-student role-playing is there? Now it's okay, something happened. The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became. It's just that this cursed spirit was born out of love. What's outrageous is that it can actually control it. Now Shalo and Shoko are imprisoned in the collar. One is more inauspicious than the other, and the other. Why? Yaga Masamiki let out a long sigh, and at this moment, his whole person seemed a little older. Shoko, she is an important existence comparable to Gojo Satoru. The strategic treasure of the entire magic world. If an accident happens, then he, as the principal, can stop doing this. It would be easy for the higher-ups to strip him of his skin. This is the second time he has been so panicked. The first time was the rebellion of Sha Yuji, the super magician of that year. Hey, it would be great if Gojo Satoru was here. Within the field. The special magic spirit smiled evilly. Originally, its purpose was to kill all four of them, but after feeling the power of Meimei and Nanami, it killed all four of them. The cake is too big to be eaten at once, and if you have a big appetite, you may stretch yourself to death. Therefore, it gave up decisively and settled for the next best thing, leaving these two weak persimmons behind. It wants to reunite with the swallow, so how can it put itself at risk? Shoko looked panicked at the position where Meimei and Nanami were shot away just now. Oops, I didn't expect this cursed spirit to be so cunning. Did you deliberately leave yourself with Shalo because you wanted to use yourself to restrict Shalo? She glanced at Shalo, who was expressionless, and gritted her teeth and said, Shalo, your priority is to get rid of the cursed spirit. With the strength Shalo showed just now, if he concentrates on fighting this cursed spirit, he may not have no chance of winning. I don't want to be that annoying drag bottle. As for your own safety. Hey, let it be fate. Looking back on my life these years, I basically spent it in the infirmary, busy from morning to night. What is your purpose? Is it your duty as a magician? But she seems to have never lived for herself. Well, I'm a little tired. Of course Shalo knew what Shoko meant. However, this cursed spirit seemed to have made a mistake. I seem to be looked down upon. He took a step forward and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Hey, find out who you are hunting for, I am the hunter. I saw that the originally dark pupils suddenly glowed with scarlet blood, and the kaleidoscope pattern slowly rotated. This faint cross light was so dazzling that it made the originally red sky look colorless. Boom! The heart of the special grade cursed spirit seemed to have been hit with a heavy hammer. Just looking into those eyes felt like there was a cold sharp knife on the neck, which could kill him at any time. The special level cursed spirit took a step back involuntarily. Is it an illusion? No, it will never admit this kind of death threat. Unexpectedly, he is the one who hides the deepest and strongest. Swallow her first, and then I'll have a good fight with you. After saying that, its body composed of skeletons collapsed, and the white bones not far from Shoko's feet began to stir. In the blink of an eye, it condensed into the body of a super-grade cursed spirit. In this realm of bones, it can be reorganized anywhere at any time and change into any shape. Rub. The sharp hand knife condensed from white bones stabbed Shoko. Shalo, attack the cursed spirit now. After saying that, Shoko closed his eyes, his pretty face tensed, and he almost forgot how to breathe. At the same time, he silently activates the inversion warlock in his body. I hope that I can resist a few more swords and gain opportunities for Shalo to attack. Quote. The expected pain did not come, and she carefully opened one eye. Question mark. I saw that the cursed spirit's bone knife actually stopped 10 centimeters away from Z's heart. Moreover, the entire body of the cursed spirit was frozen in place, motionless. It can even be seen that its face is full of fear. As if it is enduring great pain. She looked at Shalo with shocked eyes. Is this a ground-fixing technique? Does he know so many magic arts? Shalo walked up slowly and took out a lollipop from Shinwei's face. Then with a smile, he took out the cigarette from the corner of Shoko's mouth and replaced it with a lollipop. During this process, she did not resist at all and allowed Shalo to replace Wazi. That's right, girls look better if they don't smoke. Looking at Shoko, who was motionless and still confused, Shalo was speechless. I didn't use illusions on you, why do you look like you're being frozen? After saying this, Shoko relaxed his tense body, took a sip of the sweet lollipop, and asked. You just said that it was illusion that controlled it. She looked at Shalo in disbelief. Yes, Shalo nodded slightly and turned his Sharingan again. I saw that the knife that the special curse spirit originally stabbed Shoko slowly retracted. Then, under Shoko's shocked gaze, he stabbed into his body in the opposite direction. Click, the hard white ribs were broken, and then under Shalo's control, he stabbed several more times. The body of the cursed spirit, which was made of skeletons, began to gradually disintegrate. This, Shoko was extremely shocked to see what the cursed spirit in front of him did. The cursed spirit that wanted to kill him 1 second, was slashing at him with a knife in the next moment. And is all this an illusion that Shalo said? What illusion is so powerful? Can you actually directly and forcefully control a special cursed spirit to commit suicide? Isn't this too overbearing? Her beautiful brown eyes looked at Shalo. Then why did the cursed spirit look so happy just now? As if he succeeded. Of course I am immersed in the world of illusion. The scene it sees in its eyes is roughly that it first successfully devours you, then finally kills itself, and finally resurrects its wife. Tell me, can it be unhappy? Shalo explained with a smile. Shoko's beautiful eyes flashed. So outrageous. Shalo shook his head. After all, this is just an ordinary illusion. If you can get Tsukuyomi, or even infinite Tsukuyomi, that would be outrageous. The biggest reason why this special level curse-seeing spirit has been controlled by him for so long lies in itself. To put it simply, it is immersed in the beautiful world of illusion and cannot extricate itself. Love is twisted, so the spell spirits born are usually very powerful. But their obsessions are very strong, so they are most affected by illusions. Shalo waved the fan in his hand. Okay, the dream is over, the nightmare is about to begin. Boom. The skeleton curse spirit was instantly shattered, and its bones were scattered all over the sky. However, the field was not lifted. It also shows that this special curse spirit is not dead. In the distance, the bones on the ground reunited to form their original appearance. It looked at its hands in disbelief and murmured. Fake, where is my swallow? Then he reacted immediately. You actually lied to me. Asshole, you dare to use swallows to deceive me. Unforgivable. Suddenly, countless bones in the field converged towards it like a rushing river. These are like thousands of building blocks, pieced together in various places on the body of the cursed spirit. Soon, a huge skeleton king appeared in front of him. Looking at the huge skeleton king in front of him, Shalo's eyes were fiery and the cells in his body were boiling. It just so happens that Madara's ninjutsu scroll also includes his taijutsu inheritance. Moreover, he passed the last double physical training card. Shalo can now open the 4th gate among the 8 gates of Dunjia. He put away his fan and formed a seal with his hands. Injury door, open. Boom. A manic air flow emerged, and cyan energy clung to his body like burning flames. The terrifying air current lifted his black hair and robes high. At this moment, his physical fitness is 10 times higher than normal. Shoko raised his wrist to cover his face, and Shalo's handsome back was reflected in his clear pupils. In comparison, Shalo's body was larger than that of the huge skeleton king. Like Mount Tai and a feather. However, in her mind, that figure was extremely tall and safe. The special level curse spirit only felt a blur in front of his eyes, as if a black afterimage flashed past. At first glance, Shalo actually disappeared out of thin air. Just when it is doubtful. Boom. There was a huge muffled sound from behind its head, and its body composed of countless bones was directly hit by the huge force and staggered forward a few steps. Then, before it could react, a red and ferocious face came into view. This is youth. A more powerful whip leg swept across. Boom. Countless broken bones scattered. The special grade curse spirit was directly kicked into the air, and its dark green pupils were full of doubts. Nani. How could such a big body be straight up to the sky with one kick? However, it is far from over. The Shalo flows very fast and turns into the afterimage of meteors. With fists and kicks, he hit the body of the special cursed spirit with madness. Bang bang bang. There is only a heavy loud sound in the field, and every blow is like the roar of an ancient bell. Shoko was unable to use words to describe the shock in front of him. This was the first time she had seen someone beating up a cursed spirit within the realm of the cursed spirit. Looking at the entire world of magic, apart from Gojo Satoru, he is the only one who can do this, right? However, is this really still within the scope of physical arts? Which gymnastics are so powerful? I'm afraid the previous tyrant, Fuhasher, was nothing more than that, right? She even felt that Shalo was more powerful. The huge body of the special grade cursed spirit is now like a cannonball, hitting all over the domain barrier. At this moment, it was stunned and had no power to fight back. The parts on his body were constantly scattered, and they had already been dismantled to pieces. At the same time, outside the domain, the blood-red domain barrier kept hearing violent roars, as if a huge hammer was hitting the barrier. Mei Mei and Nanami also felt the huge roar in the field. How intense of a battle would it take to cause such a big commotion? Did they feel it even outside the realm? Just now, I seem to have vaguely heard Shalo's roar. This made the two of them even more worried. It seems that Shalo has fallen into a hard battle and has been forced into a desperate situation and has to use all his strength. After all, Shalo always gave them the impression of being calm. Judging from the current situation, the situation is not optimistic. As for Shoko's safety, the two of them no longer dared to think about it. Now I can only wait for the school to send the special cursed tool as soon as possible. Within the field, Shalo struck hard at the abdomen of the super cursed spirit with one blow. Boom! The huge body hit the ground hard and remained motionless. Natsuliu fell to Shoko's side, his chest heaving and breathing heavily. Cool, feeling happy from the heart. Shoko's beautiful eyes flashed, and she lightly covered her red lips. Is this solved? No, but it will be soon. Shalo looked at the dying cursed spirit lying on the ground, its broken jaw making it difficult to make a sound. But Shalo knew that it was calling his wife during his lifetime, Yanzi. If it were any other cursed spirit, he would have died long ago after he opened the wound door and beat him so severely. But it seems that there is an obsession that has been supporting it and not falling. The outer skeleton of the cursed spirit was almost completely broken, but the inner ones could never be destroyed. I have to admit that the power of love is too powerful. Swallow, don't worry, I will definitely resurrect you. No one can stop us from reuniting. In the distance, the dying cursed spirit muttered to itself. Shalo smiled bitterly and shook his head. Why do you feel like I am the villain? It's such a touching love. Shoko sighed slightly. Go and understand it, Mei Mei, and they must be very worried about us. However, her words had just fallen. The cursed spirit actually stood up, supporting its broken body. As its broken jaw opens and closes. Let me show you what pure love is. White bones. Kingming. White bones. Kingming. Boom. As it roared, all the bones in the area rose into the air and gathered behind it. Densely packed bones form a rushing sea of bones. It seems like it's going to wash away everything. Immediately afterwards, the special cursed spirit roared again. Fight with your life. Kneel down and kill. After saying that, the special grade cursed spirit in the distance actually knelt down in front of the two of them. In the doubtful eyes of the two people, they slowly lowered their heads. Boom. A muffled sound. The skull head kowtowed fiercely to the ground, and the entire area was trembling with it, as if it was mourning for the impending death of its master. Natsuliu and Shoko felt an invisible force lock their feet, unable to move. What the hell kind of ability is this? Can it actually directly restrict the enemy's movement to forcefully meet the sea of bones scouring behind it? Feeling his feet that couldn't break free and the barrage of attacks that almost filled the screen, Shalo's eyes were a little surprised. Through the observation of the Sharingan, it can be clearly seen that every bone has a lot of cursed power attached to it, and it is very powerful. If you try hard to pick it up, I'm afraid you'll be beaten into a sieve. Sha Feng sighed. Even though he was already on the verge of death, he could still unleash such a terrifying attack. Shoko looked at the sea of bones behind the special cursed spirit with shocked eyes. The terrifying pressure made it difficult for her to breathe. It is not difficult to imagine that once the Sea of Bones is activated, the entire area will be covered and there will be no escape. In addition, being restricted from movement, even Shalo has no chance of escaping. Sure enough, is it still impossible to escape death? Thinking of this, her eyes were determined, and she put her hands on Shalo's back, preparing to use all her strength to activate the reverse warlock. Since I have no chance of survival, I must try my best to save Shalo's life. However, she didn't know whether Shalo, combined with her own warlock treatment, could withstand the cursed spirit's counterattack before its death. Sister Shoko, what are you doing? Feeling the slight push on his back, Shalo turned around and asked doubtfully. Shoko looked at him with death-defying eyes. Don't leave the range of my hands. I will do my best to treat you and help you survive this wave of attacks. This sudden wave of operations made Shalo confused. Then he reacted immediately. Do you want to sacrifice yourself to save his life? Shalo felt warm in his heart. But it's no wonder that she doesn't seem to know that she possesses the skill of divine power. This ultimate move of Curse Spirit is completely useless to him. But this time he didn't plan to use the divine power to hide, but wanted to try the ninjutsu he had just learned. Shalo put his backhand on Shoko's shoulder and said with a smile, just in case, I'd better trouble you to hide in my divine power space first. Wait, what space? Shoko looked at Natsuliu with a question mark on his face. However, before Shalo could reply, a vortex emerged from his shoulder. Then the vortex twisted and sucked her in directly. Shoko only had time to scream in surprise before disappearing completely. And at the same time, all the bones in the field gathered behind the cursed spirit. The cursed spirit that was kneeling on the ground suddenly moved. I saw it struggling to lift the broken head to the highest point, and then kowtow with all its strength. Boom! The huge sea of bones behind him was swallowing Shalo like a stormy wave. It is said that if it were an ordinary first-level magician who was restrained from moving, he might not be able to escape death. However, Shalo grinned and clapped his hands. Water escape. Who will build the dam? Shock wave of a big water storm. In an instant, an extremely rapid waterfall emerged from Shalo's feet, one layer after another, and the scope continued to expand. In the end, a shocking wave formed that shook the mountains and seas. Shalo stood at the highest point of the water flow, and seemed to feel that it was not enough, so he continued to form seals. Water escape. Water dragon bullet technique. Ho-ho. Thick water pillars burst out, and then condensed into a huge water dragon. The terrifying huge body seems to penetrate the heaven and the earth. Its body is entirely made of water, but it seems to be alive, as it roars. The whole area actually started to crack like glass. Through the gap, you can even feel a trace of light from the outside world refracted in. Shalo slowly raised his arms, like a god in charge of heaven and earth. Boom! The overwhelming water waves and the huge water dragons charged towards the rushing sea of bones. Now, outside the domain, Ijichi hurriedly arrived with a group of auxiliary supervisors. A clothed man and a woman behind him were each holding two ancient wooden boxes. Quick, take Yuyun and Dragon Bone to Meimei and Nanami. Yuyun is a 3-cut stick, all red in color. It is not given by a warlock, but it is purely physical output. The keel is a black knife, which absorbs impact and curse power, and is released by the 3 holes on the back of the knife to bring super thrust. Special grade magic tools are very precious and are impossible to take out under normal circumstances. However, this time the situation is special, so I came directly to bring 2. After finishing speaking, he half knelt down on the ground, breathing heavily. It's not because he is too tired. After all, as an auxiliary supervisor, his physical fitness is far beyond that of ordinary people. It was mainly caused by the extreme tension in my heart. Although he was not personally involved in this intelligence investigation, as the captain he cannot escape the blame. If something happens to Shalo and Shoko, the consequences will be unimaginable. Meimei took over Yuyun with a solemn expression, while Nanami held the dragon bone in her hand. The two looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then he knelt down at the same time, making a charging gesture, preparing to launch a full blow against the red field barrier. Seeing this scene, the auxiliary supervisor in the rear stepped back knowingly. The full power of 2 first-level spellcasters holding special-level cursed tools at the same time must be huge. Come on you two, my life depends on you. Ijichi was so nervous that he had trouble breathing, but he knew it in his heart. So much time has passed, and the situation inside may be dire. It's just that he didn't dare to think about it. Just when Mei and Nanami were about to touch the field barrier with their full blow, a sudden change occurred. Click, click, click. There was a crisp shattering sound, and cracks began to appear in the barrier, and then it got out of hand. The cracks spread rapidly, and the originally intact area became densely packed with fragments. Boom! The red field exploded instantly. Huge waves of water poured out, like a flood opening. The entire abandoned construction site was instantly flooded. Mei's pupils shrank and they quickly retreated. Most of the auxiliary supervisors behind him were not so lucky. Some of the smart ones were lucky enough to climb to the high steel frame. The rest that didn't react were like rootless duckweed, washed up in every corner of the construction site. Fortunately, this is only the residual power and does not cause danger. However, most people were soaked to the skin and turned into drowned rats. When the flood subsided, everyone was stunned. You looked at me and I looked at you. What the hell is going on? Why did the field explosion cause such a turbulent flood? Those who didn't know thought it was whose water storage valve was opened. Hey, I heard that this special grade curse spirit has a domain. Do you think it could be the cause of all this water? Don't tell me, it's really possible. Several auxiliary supervisors were discussing. Only Mei and Nanami stared at the broken position of the realm with serious eyes. The domain ability of the special grade curse spirit just now is related to bones, and these floods should have nothing to do with it. So that means, sudden, roar, a terrifying dragon roar resounded through the sky, and its terrifying power made many weaker people weaken. Everyone looked up at the sky in horror. I saw a huge water dragon hovering in the sky, its body made entirely of water, looking around in all directions as if it were alive. Everyone was frozen in place, looking at the water dragon hovering in the sky with horrified eyes. What the hell is going on? The legendary dragons are out. At this moment, outside the abandoned construction site, the dry streets have turned into rivers that can reach up to the knees, and all the big trees have been uprooted. Fortunately, this area has long been isolated and no ordinary people come and go. However, the residents in several tall buildings in the distance were no longer calm. Some people are extremely excited, some are extremely shocked, and some even worship the sky. Even though they were far apart, they could already see a huge dragon appearing in the sky. I got up so violently that I actually saw a dragon hovering in the sky. Let me tell you, the world is not as simple as we think. What exactly is going on? Is the dragon god going to punish us? No, it could be a mirage. Anyway, take a picture first and then talk about it. Countless people raised their mobile phones to take pictures. At this moment, in the abandoned construction site, snapped. There was a snap of his fingers. The sound was not loud, but it reached everyone's ears like a ghost. I saw that the huge water dragon in the sky suddenly exploded at the sound of my fingers, and water sprayed all over the sky like a heavy rain. Question mark, question mark, question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. See this picture. Including Mei Nanami, everyone was frozen in place like petrified statues. Water dragon, just disappeared like this. Just a snap of the fingers. No, this means that this water dragon was created by a warlock. As soon as these words came out, everyone was horrified. The assistant supervisor was right. The terrifying water dragon disintegrates with a snap of the fingers. There is only one possibility. This dragon was created by a spell. Is it that special magic spirit? Or is it the new genius who recently arrived, Shalo? If all this was really caused by Shalo, wouldn't it be so terrifying? It is not a secret that Shoko is a warlock, so everyone immediately rules her out. When the water completely dissipated, a beautiful figure appeared in front of him. And at her feet was a broken skull face. At this moment, it still opened its jaw tirelessly and murmured in its mouth, but could not make a sound. The excitement could not be concealed in those dim green pupils. Shoko knew that this was an illusion cast by Shalo on it. Now, in its eyes, in a beautiful world of flowers, he saw his wife smiling and waving to him, and the two of them headed toward the light hand in hand. Thanks. After he finished speaking, the light in his pupils dimmed completely, and his head turned into a wisp of black smoke and dissipated into the sky and earth. She knew that this thank you was to the departing Shalo. Shoko. It's Shoko. It's great that she's okay. Not only was there no blood on Shoko's body, there was not even a trace of injury. Aijichi almost jumped up with joy, and the other auxiliary supervisors also breathed a sigh of relief. But soon, they discovered something was wrong. Etc. Why is she alone, Shalo? A bad premonition spread in their hearts. Could it be that in order to protect Shoko, Shalo fought to the death with the special curse spirit, and finally died together? Thinking about it, Shoko, who is not good at fighting, was in the realm of a special curse spirit, but he was not injured at all. Apart from Shalo's life-saving rescue, they could no longer think of any other possibility. Mei Mei and Nanami walked up with solemn faces and uneasy hearts. Everyone stared at the place where the special curse spirit had just dissipated, and fell into deep thought. In their minds, they have imagined a tragic battle. Mei Mei squatted down, looked at the abandoned construction site filled with running water, and said in a low voice, "Are you willing to sacrifice your own life to protect Shoko? Obviously he has such great strength, but..." Recalling the previous conversation with Shalo in the underground laboratory. Shalo once said that everyone has his own ambitions, and he can guarantee that he will never cause harm to the magicians in the college. But now it's not just about causing no harm. He's even risking his life to save Shoko. She forced a smile. What a fascinating little brother. Nanami also sighed. Don't worry, the Conjuration College will always remember Shalo. Hearing this, everyone lowered their heads, as if mourning for Shalo. At this time, "Hey, what are you talking about? Shalo is fine." Shoko looked at everyone's strange behavior and couldn't help but said, "Did you misunderstand something?" As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Shoko with shocked eyes. Mei Mei's eyes lit up. "Shoko, are you saying that Shalo is fine? Then, where is he?" Facing the expectant eyes of everyone, Shoko helplessly raised his forehead. What an irresponsible guy, he actually ran away after releasing her from that strange space. Then, Shoko patiently told the details of what happened. A few minutes later, "What, are you saying that Shalo fought with the special spell spirit almost the entire time? There was no pressure at all. And the flood and dragon just now were also caused by Shalo?" Everyone gasped and looked at Shoko with incredulous eyes. "Shalo. Has he become this strong already?" Shoko nodded without knowing what he was saying, and when he thought about it again, he still found it a bit unbelievable. She never expected that Shalo was so strong. Although he was finally included in the divine power space, he did not see Shalo's ultimate move. But there is no doubt that this is another of Shalo's unseen spells. How many unseen warlocks are hidden in this guy? Mei Mei then asked, "What about others?" At this time, everyone also looked at Shoko. That's right, since it's a whole process of crushing, what about the Shalo people? Well, Shoko rubbed his head, his eyes lit up, and he suddenly remembered. He said that Itadori is in trouble and wants to find Susanoo to fight for the second half. Shalo left in a hurry at that time. After releasing her from the divine space, he left a brief sentence and left. Unexpectedly, as soon as these words came out, the whole place fell into silence. Beat Susanoo. Is he crazy? He just killed a special curse spirit and it's not enough. Now he wants to fight Susanoo. That was the cursed king from thousands of years ago. But soon, they reacted. Isn't Susanoo living in Itadori's body? How did he know there would be trouble? Idiot. Now it's not about how Shalo knew about it, but Susanoo has to wake up again. If this is true, the consequences will be disastrous. Fushiguro Megumi, Itadori, and Rosa Kugizaki will all face life-threatening danger. Nanami looked at the auxiliary supervisor and said seriously, "In this case, it is necessary to go there. You should know where Aijichi Itadori and his companions are performing their mission, please lead the way." Mei Mei looked at Aijichi and said calmly, "Aijichi." "Yes, Miss Mei Mei. When performing tasks, the auxiliary supervisor should follow the instructions of the conjurer. What's more, it's still such an important thing. Not good." Nanami suddenly realized something. Her face changed slightly, and she said in a deep voice. "Before that, let's leave a group of personnel specifically responsible for erasing memories. Quote, the account has been broken, and Shalo's water dragon is so powerful that the nearby residents may have discovered it. Quote, immediately mobilize relationships, contact the fishing department, find some reliable and authoritative experts, and write a copy to refute the rumors. After all, these kinds of paranormal phenomena can cause quite a bit of alarm. Yingji Children's Palace. The situation is extremely critical. Boom. There was a loud noise and the thick stone wall instantly collapsed. Itadori's body flew out like a kite with its string cut off, almost smashing through the wall behind him. His eyes turned white, his face was covered with blood stains, his right palm had been cut off, and blood sprayed all over the floor. The thick smoke dissipated, and a creature similar to the Ultimate Man in the movie slowly walked over. The skin on its entire body is dark blue, and its muscular muscles contain terrifying power. It is only wrapped in a crotch cloth to cover its body. The sound of death-like footsteps came. Itadori suddenly opened his eyes and forcibly brought back his consciousness. He tore off a piece of cloth and tied it barely around his broken right hand to prevent excessive blood loss. Call, have you even begun to tremble while breathing? Itadori endured the severe pain and stared at the special cursed spirit in front of him. Calm down, be sure to calm down. Although this cursed spirit is much smaller than the special human-faced worm I saw last time in Roppongi. However, just by the sense of oppression, it is obvious that it is much more powerful. What to do? What to do? What would he do if Shalo were here? No, with his strength, there is no need to think so much. Even if he cannot defeat him, his life will not be in danger. Strength, still too weak. However, the special magic spirit in front of him would not give Itadori a chance to continue thinking. It wants to kill the ants in front of it in the most terrifying and painful way. Only in this way can it satisfy its inner pleasure. I saw its ferocious face and a cruel smile. With his hands spread out, a terrifying golden air flow centered on it and rolled towards Itadori. Boom! The black floor tiles were violently overturned by this strong air current. For a moment, rubble and bricks flew everywhere, and the terrifying air waves blew Itadori to the point where even breathing became a luxury. Similar to a low-end version of Shinra Tianzhong. Itadori stretched out his right hand and broken left arm, gathered a magical barrier, and resisted with all his strength. But the gap between the magic power he can currently gather and that of a special level magic spirit is so great that he can almost bear it with his physical body. The flesh on his face was flying, the tears dripping from the corners of his eyes, and the drool flying from the corners of his mouth evaporated instantly under this terrifying airflow. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, so sad. At this moment, he was enduring pain that was incomprehensible to ordinary people. If it weren't for his special physique, he might have died long ago. Even though death is right in front of him, his mind can't help but recall what happened with his finger. He regretted it a little. If only I hadn't picked up that finger. Don't eat him. Maybe this series of things wouldn't happen. Maybe. Don't even think about it, Itadori. He roared with a ferocious face as if to cheer himself up. He glanced at the dark passage behind him. Fushiguro has already gone to rescue Kugasaki, and his mission is almost completed. Then, you can be relieved. Itadori's consciousness gradually blurred and he collapsed to the ground, and black lines gradually appeared on his face. The cursed spirit who wanted to give him the final blow suddenly froze on the spot. Where are people? The ants that were lying on the ground and were being slaughtered actually disappeared. Sudden, an indifferent voice came from the side. It's really annoying. You actually used me as a tool. Itadori failed to hang up, and Susanoo was successfully promoted. The humanoid cursed spirit suddenly turned sideways. He was obviously still the same ant just now, so why did he feel scared? Even every cell in the body is trembling. The poor cursed spirit has not yet realized that the identity of the ant has quietly changed. No, facing the cursed king from thousands of years ago, it might not even be considered an ant. Susanoo ignored the shocked cursed spirit, just touched his chin and said to himself. Humph, you're just wishful thinking. Do you want me to wipe your ass? Suddenly, Susanoo grinned evilly. In that case, I will kill all his other two partners. Especially that energetic wild woman, she should be able to bring a lot of fun to herself, right? When the time comes, what kind of expression will this kid show? Susanoo patted the cursed spirit on the shoulder, and the cursed spirit trembled all over. He immediately stood up straight and was covered in cold sweat. Follow me and kill the two conjurers. Susanoo waved, put his hands in his pockets, and walked forward. The humanoid cursed spirit was very scared at the moment, but even more angry. How dare the ants from before do this to themselves? I saw it facing each other with its hands, condensing a terrifying energy ball on its chest, and smashing it towards Susanoo. The small eyes on Susanoo's cheekbones were slightly slanted. Idiot. Then he took out the broken left hand that was inserted into his trouser pocket, and the warlock instantly restored it to intact. Then, he lightly blocked the incoming energy ball. With a slight exertion of the 5 fingers, the energy ball was directly annihilated. Tisk. I actually subconsciously helped him heal his broken hand and irritability. The humanoid cursed spirit took a step back involuntarily, showing fear in its eyes again. How is it possible? He actually caught his own charged blow with his hand. And not a single hair was hurt. Susanoo glanced at it. Since you don't like walking, then stay here forever. After saying that, the figure suddenly disappeared, and a pair of big hands directly pressed the head of the cursed spirit. Then exert some force. Boom. The superhumanoid cursed spirit was directly knocked away by an irresistible force. The entire body is deeply embedded in the wall. In a dark corridor, a beautiful figure kept flashing and moving, and the hammer with a pink heart engraved in its hand kept swinging. When Kugizaki Wild Rose used all her strength to fire a resonance shot, piercing the body of a cursed spirit. Hoo-ha, hoo-ha. She put one hand on her hip to barely support her exhausted body. Looking at the cursed spirits surrounding her from all sides, she spat out a mouthful of saliva mixed with blood. Ever since she was swallowed up by the strange black space, she came here and was surrounded by these cursed spirits. There is only one nail left, and the magic power is almost exhausted. The number of curseable spirits. Looking at the countless cursed spirits all around, a feeling of powerlessness arose in my heart. Why is it the same scene again, and I am surrounded by cursed spirits again? How abominable. I can't die here yet. I haven't met Sister Sori yet. There are still so many streets in Tokyo that I haven't visited yet. I haven't bought any new bags that will be released soon. I haven't watched any movies. The most important thing is that I haven't taken revenge on that annoying Shalo yet. How dare you call him boss, and even dare to bully Sister Junshi? Just last time, after Junshi and Shalo finished their discussion, they brought back 2 pieces of clothes from the Akatsuki organization. After the 2 women confessed to each other, she learned the general process of how Sister Junshi was drawn into the Akatsuki organization. The tentacle over there blames you for wagging around. Do you think I'm afraid of this thing? I have to chop you into pieces and feed them to the dogs. Kugizaki Wild Rose gained strength again from somewhere and was ready to kill the group of cursed spirits. At this time, the space was distorted, and a pair of long, slender hands stretched out from the vortex and rested on her shoulders. Ah, ghost. The sudden appearance of the big hand scared Kugizaki Wild Rose to the point where she almost jumped. The hammer originally swung at the cursed spirit suddenly hit back. Shalo held her wrist and slowly walked out of the whirlpool with a smile on her face. Kugizaki-san, it's like not seeing each other for 24 hours in one day. Kugisaki rolled his eyes at him. Where are you sitting across from me? Also, it's so mysterious that it scares me to death. Seeing Shalo's arrival, she knew her crisis was over, and she let out a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. Really, I let this guy save me again. In total, I owe him 2 favors. How should I repay him in the future? Shalo didn't pay attention to the cursed spirits around him at all. With the appearance of Shalo, these cursed spirits also stopped attacking and seemed to be sizing up this guy who made them afraid. You have suffered a lot, haven't you? I asked you to wear the clothes of the Akatsuki organization, otherwise I would have arrived long ago. The Akatsuki organization's clothes, Natsuryu, had specially left the Kamui mark on them, and he thought that Shizaki Wild Rose was wearing them this time. As a result, he used the coordinates of the clothes to teleport a divine power directly to the wardrobe in her room. Finally, relying on the memory in my mind and trying constantly, I found this place. Kugisaki complained. Those clothes are too loose and don't reflect my figure at all. Figure. Shalo looked at her slightly bulging chest muscles speechlessly. Hey, what do you mean by that expression? Kugizaki Wild Rose stood up with her hands on her hips unconvinced, straightening her body and trying hard to prove her ability. Shalo coughed twice. Okay, let's deal with these cursed spirits first. After saying that, he clapped his palms together to form a mudra. Fire escape. The art of powerful fireball. Raging. Fiery flames spit out from the mouth, and the dark space is covered with flames, as bright as day. The terrifying high temperature directly burned all the surrounding cursed spirits to ashes. After a few seconds, the surroundings fell into dead silence. The smell of meat spreads throughout the passage. Shalo, all fear comes from insufficient firepower. Kugizaki's beautiful eyes widened and she looked at him with complex eyes, and then at the cursed spirits who didn't even have any scum left. Is this solved? He was fighting life and death, and he was so tired that he couldn't deal with the cursed spirits, so he killed them instantly. Also, what is fire release? Geniuses can't be so exaggerated, right? Kugisaki shook his head, feeling physically and mentally hit. I originally wanted to try my best to surpass Shalo and make him bow down under her pomegranate skirt and call me queen. But now, after not seeing each other for a long time, this guy actually learned a new warlock. Warlocks, are they really that easy to learn? Why are there so many of them? Fire and space seem to have nothing to do with each other. Okay, don't be infatuated with me, he's just a legend. Go save Itadori and the others. Kugizaki Wild Rose. Tisk, why are you pulling? At this moment, a black figure and a man with a hedgehog haircut ran over. The two looked at each other. Shalo waved. Long time no see, Fushihei. Fushiguro Megumi propped up his knees and breathed in air. It's okay. In fact, the moment he saw Shalo, his heart calmed down. Time was running out, so Fushiguro Megumi told the general story of what happened, and also called the teachers. It has to be said that Fushiguro Yato is very aware and smart. Shalo, it seems that Itadori is in danger. You go to the outside gate and wait while I go to save Itadori. Fushiguro was shocked, feeling that what he had just said was in vain. Hey. Did you understand what I said? The current Itadori is probably not the same person. It's Susanoo, the cursed king in the form of two fingers. Of course, Shalo knew that Susanoo had already occupied Itadori's body at this time, and should be beating up the humanoid super curse spirit now. However, Susanoo should soon kill the special curse spirit and swallow the third finger. And his purpose at this moment is to challenge Susanoo in a duel. As he becomes more proficient in using the Sharingan, he has initially mastered the first level of Susanoo. Skeleton form. As for the second level, I always feel that something is missing. Natsuliu had a hunch that perhaps this battle with Susanoo would not only help him become proficient in the association's ninjutsu, but it might also open up the second stage of Susanoo's career. The capabilities of this pair of kaleidoscopes are far more than that, and there is still a lot of room for development. Children's Palace. An underground ruins. The humanoid special grade curse spirit was nailed to the wall, its limbs had been cut off, and purple-black blood was flowing along the corner of the wall to the ground. Susanoo put his hands in his pockets and stood on a piece of gravel, admiring his masterpiece. Haha, do you know? We are all classified as special, you and I, don't you think it lowers my grade? If we really have to forget it, then there seems to be no difference between special grade fish and trash fish. As soon as these words came out, it seemed to anger the cursed spirit nailed to the wall. It roared and began to struggle violently, trying to escape from the wall. Susanoo raised his eyebrows and continued to encourage. Very good, try harder and be a little more angry. Then please me to your heart's content. Ahem, ah. The cursed spirit's eyes were filled with rage, and he finally pulled his body out of the wall. Dense bubbles bulged out from the broken limbs, and then the severed limbs grew back again. Boom. The humanoid special grade curse spirit jumped down from a high wall of more than 10 meters, grinning from the corners of its mouth to its ears, and seemed very excited. Susanoo smiled disdainfully. You seem to be very proud. Do you want me to praise you? Special. It's a pity that this is not worthy of praise. Unlike humans, treatment is not difficult for cursed spirits. Susanoo pointed at his body again. You are just like this kid, stupid and ignorant of the power of magic. So, let me teach you, Zayu. After saying that, Susanoo slowly took out his hands and formed a seal. The field expands. Suppress the demon royal chef. As low words came out of his mouth. Tick-tock. In the absolute darkness, water drops dripped, creating weak ripples. A scream like a demon from hell echoed. The endless forest aura spread out instantly with Susanoo as the center, and countless withered white skulls emerged. The ground beneath your feet is like a transparent mirror. Under the reflection, a large scarlet Buddhist shrine rises from the ground. Like the door to hell, Susanoo stands above the realm, like a god holding the power of life and death. Untie. An extremely plain voice spoke out. Brush. The slashes that cannot be caught by the naked eye are like cutting tofu, and blood spurts out. The humanoid special grade cursed spirit has pupils as thin as sharp needles, motionless, and its whole body is covered with blood lines. A breeze blew by, and its body split open instantly. The cuts were neat and smooth, divided into countless points. Because they were cut vertically, there was no hint of resurrection from the cursed spirit. Oh, I accidentally cut it into noodles, sorry. As he spoke, Susanoo slowly walked up to the front of his eyes, stretched out 2 fingers on its chest, and pulled out a dried finger. But luckily, the finger is intact. The property has returned to its original owner. Susanoo raised his head, swallowed his fingers, closed his eyes and enjoyed the return of power. Even the mantra consumed in opening the realm just now was made up for. Snapped. Susanoo snapped his fingers. The human-shaped cursed spirit that was cut into noodles was instantly burned out by purple flames, and finally returned to nothingness. He put his hands in his pockets, silently walked to the empty gravel, slowly closed his eyes and said impatiently. It's over. There was silence and no one responded. Tisk. Don't mess with me. Come out quickly. Susanoo's tone became more impatient. As the majestic king of curses, he has to be restricted by a kid. This made him very embarrassed. 3 seconds later. There was still no response at all, and there was no feeling of being squeezed out of consciousness. Susanoo opened his 4 eyes and thought, could it be that this kid was hit so hard that his consciousness fell into a deep sleep? Thinking of this, he showed a strange and ferocious smile. It looks like I can kill him happily. Unfortunately, I came a step too late and my points are gone. A sigh came from the dim underground ruins. Susanoo suddenly looked back. Who? Phew. A whirlpool appeared, and a man carrying a round fan appeared in front of him. It turns out to be you, the boy with weird abilities. A playful expression suddenly appeared on Liangmian Susanoo's face. This person was the spellcaster who made him crippled as soon as he was reborn. But at that time, he only had 1 finger of strength, but now he has swallowed 3 fingers. Therefore, he decided not to look for those kitties for the time being, because the people in front of him interested him more. You actually came to your door. Are you ready to die? Boom. An extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Susanoo's body. Boy, I decided to torture you slowly. Shalo looked at Susanoo with interest. The 3-fingered Susanoo was indeed much stronger than the first time they met. Perhaps through a battle with him, the 2nd-level Shizuo Nangu can really be activated. Come on, let me see if you have made any progress during this time. Don't be like that cursed spirit just now. Before Susanoo finished speaking, Shalo used a teleportation technique and came behind Susanoo at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the chakra is condensed in the hand to form a high-intensity electric current. Reikiri. Sizzle. The sound of thunder and lightning came to his ears. Susanoo's eyes widened and he subconsciously looked out of the corner of his eye. Nani? So fast. At the same time, outside the children's palace, Fushiguro Megumi was pacing back and forth anxiously, and the black jade dog behind him was also following him in circles stupidly. Why didn't Shalo listen to his advice? Do you still think this is the first time Susanoo has happened? Susanoo's strength has increased several times. Can't you wait for the teachers to come together? Hey, hedgehog, can you stop dangling? Kugizaki Wild Rose complained impatiently. Ever since Shalo brought the 2 of them here, he has been walking around, almost never stopping. Her eyes were dazzled by the shaking. She wasn't too worried about Shalo's safety. Although that guy always made her feel embarrassed, she had to say that in terms of strength, he was an out-and-out monster. Especially the 8-gate Dunjia that Maki brought back last time, I also read it myself. Although I don't understand it, it is indeed extremely mysterious. Shalo can actually write such powerful physical skills. He is really a monster. If word spreads, the entire magic world will probably go crazy. Especially his eyes, which can actually see the future. So to a certain extent, it should be possible to avoid fatal dangers, right? At this time, a black car approached at a high speed, and then it drifted to a sudden stop, accompanied by a harsh friction sound. Deep tire marks were left on the ground. The three people who got out of the car were Mei, Nanami and Shoko. As for Ijichi, he did not stop, but rushed back to the school without stopping to report the situation to the principal. When he saw the three people, Fushigiro's eyes lit up and he immediately ran forward. You are finally here. Go and help Shalo, he is going to challenge Susanoo. Then, Fushiguro briefly introduced what happened. Let's go, Teacher Mei. Although Shalo's strength is stronger than ours, Susanoo's strength cannot be underestimated. And Itadori's safety needs to be guaranteed, otherwise Gojo Satoru will go crazy. Nanami, wearing a suit and adjusting her tie, analyzed. Mei agreed with this, but she had to ask Yaga for more money afterwards. Shoko in the back held a lollipop in his mouth and said with a smile, "Be safe, I won't cause you any trouble." Fushiguro Megumi and Kugisaki Rose were stunned at the same time. If you heard me right, just now Teacher Nanami actually said that Shalo was stronger than them. And Teacher Mei didn't object. Did Shalo improve so quickly? He actually surpassed 2 teachers in such a short period of time. Doesn't that mean that Shalo is close to the special level? Isn't this too foul? Then the two shook their heads. Shalo can no longer look at him with ordinary eyes. Comparing with him will only lead to boredom. Even if one day he suddenly becomes as powerful as Gojo-sensei. Well, it's probably unlikely. Teacher Gojo has 6 eyes and no lower limit. At least, it shouldn't be realistic in the short term. Just as Mei and Nanami were preparing to go to the building for support. Boom! A loud noise reached everyone's eardrums. I saw a black dot flying backwards at a very fast speed, and it seemed that there was a blue snake-shaped electric current wrapped around it. As the distance got closer, a familiar figure came into view. Itadori. No, it's Susanoo. The curse lines on his face made everyone distinguish them at a glance. Susanoo was actually knocked into the air. Then there was only one possibility to take action. Whoosh! Thunder and lightning roared in the direction of the building, and a blue arc flashed past, cutting through the clouds and leaving a dazzling trail. Shalo turned into thunder and lightning and came to the sky above Susanoo at extremely fast speed. The corner of his mouth raised, let you enjoy the pushing feeling on your back again. As soon as he finished speaking, a high-speed rotating energy ball condensed in his hand. The energy ball shows a bright blue light. As it appears, the surrounding airflow gradually twists and forms a vortex. Rasengan. Boom! The spiral pill hit Susanoo's back firmly, and the irresistible pushing sensation along with the burning pain made Susanoo even more excited. The stronger the opponent, the better you can please him. Boom! Susanoo's body formed an arch shape and he was hit hard on the ground. It smashed huge dents into the cement floor and stirred up dust all over the sky. The violent shock wave swept across like a strong wind, blowing everyone watching the battle and sliding backwards uncontrollably. Mei and Nanami's expressions changed slightly, and they immediately led Kugisaki and Fushiguro back. Shoko blinked his eyes, his brown hair was messy, and the lollipop in his mouth disappeared. In desperation, she had no choice but to take out a green apple-flavored lollipop and stuff it into her mouth. What a scary and rude guy, but that move just now was pretty cool. Fushiguro and the others stood motionless, their eyes full of shock. The thunder and lightning just now was already terrifying. What is this huge energy ball? From what Shalo said, it seems to be called the Rasengan. Now he finally understood why the 2 teachers just said that Shalo was better than them. But judging from these 2 moves, they are enough. Is this guy an inventor of spells? Why can he always come up with weird spells? And it's so powerful. When the smoke and dust dispersed, Susanoo was no longer visible in the pit. Suddenly, a slash came from behind. Careful, Fushiguro yelled. Shalo had already taken precautions. As a time traveler, he knew very well the principle of accidental injury caused by smoke. The divine power is turned on, and the colorless slash passes through the body, cutting a deep ravine on the ground. Susanoo frowned. It's really troublesome, even the slash went right through. However, he already had a rough guess in his mind. Chapter 31. No matter it was the first fight with this kid or now, whenever he is in this weird virtual state, he will not attack himself. Even if his flaws were exposed in front of his face, this kid would remain indifferent. Therefore, it is very likely that he cannot attack in this state. No, I don't dare to attack. Is it because once his body actively comes into contact with his own, he will break away from the weird virtual state? Thinking of this, Susanoo showed a strange smile on his lips. Sure enough, no powerful warlock can be absolutely invincible. In this way, you only need to give up your defense and deliver a fatal blow the moment he takes the initiative to attack you. To put it simply, it's an exchange of damage. In the past 1,000 years, there were only a few people who could use his brain to fight. Shalo hooked his hand and signaled, "Come here." When the two made eye contact, they launched an attack at the same time. Whoosh! The ground cracked, surrounding trees were uprooted by strong winds, and a sound storm sounded in the air. Two strong men flying in the air shuttled through the open space of the children's palace, and the tug of war between you and me began. The attacks between the two sides became more and more fierce, the afterimages were blurred, the collisions were fierce, and the punches were hard to the flesh. The cells in Sha Shui's body are boiling with excitement, and the pattern of the Sharingan rotates the fastest in history. The pupil power is reaching the extreme as if it is free of money, and the shackles of unlocking the second level Shuzuo Nangu are gradually falling apart. On the other hand, Susanoo's eyes were fierce, blood was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, but he was smiling more and more crazily. He is waiting for an excellent opportunity to kill. In just a few seconds, the two sides had already fought for nearly 100 rounds. Mei Mei and others had already retreated to a distance, watching the decisive battle with extremely solemn expressions. In a battle of this level, even a first-level spellcaster like her would find it difficult to intervene. Although Shalo was in a suppressed state from beginning to end, beating Susanoo until blood spurted everywhere. However, everyone did not relax at all, but became more and more nervous. Because the smile on Susanoo's face became even weirder, as if he was holding back some big move. Moreover, Shalo's attack did not cause fatal damage to Susanoo. If things continue like this, his spell power will definitely be the first to be unable to withstand it. They were very puzzled as to why the strength of Liangji Susanoo had increased so much. Boom! Shalo's fist struck Susanoo's abdomen. Blood sprayed from the corner of Susanoo's mouth, but there was an evil smile on his face as if he was succeeding. 8. There are two types of slashes in Liangmian Susanoo, one is Jia, and the other is 8. Resolution is a series of ordinary slashes, and 8 is to apply magic power to cause a fatal blow. The slashing in this state is not only powerful and non-stop, it is also faster and almost undetectable. When the opponent reacts, most of them have already been broken into two halves. Thousands of years ago, during the heyday of the conjurer, countless so-called genius masters died under his attack, without exception. As Susanoo shouted, a ray of light and shadow passed by, and the clouds in the sky split into two instantly. Susanoo crossed his arms and said calmly, "You are very powerful, but that's all." In the distance, everyone's breath froze. In their sight, Shalo's body remained motionless in the air. Shalo he didn't escape. Yes, how could one dodge that extremely fast slash? Kugizaki Wild Rose clenched her fists tightly, pinched the corners of her clothes tightly, gritted her teeth and stared at Shalo. "Idiot, don't be scary. Why are you standing there stupidly? Move quickly. Aren't those eyes of yours able to predict the future? You must have escaped, right?" Shoko's heart was troubled, the lollipop in his mouth was broken, and his pupils looked in disbelief as Shalo's body gradually split into two. Her savior is dead. However, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Mei Mei's mouth. "Look carefully, there is no blood." As soon as these words came out, everyone who was in sorrow suddenly looked up at Shalo, whose upper body had fallen off and fell to the ground. Is there really no blood? Could it be that Susanoo just wanted to laugh twice to declare the victory of this battle, but suddenly he had a bad premonition. When he looked down, he immediately discovered the heresy. Nani, never seen blood. Immediately afterwards, Shalo's split body suddenly emitted white smoke and turned into a wooden stake. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. This scene not only made everyone watching the battle from a distance, but also Susanoo was confused. What the hell is this? I have been in the world of magic for thousands of years, and I have never encountered such a strange scene. Susanoo immediately put away the victor's posture, looked solemn, and assumed a fighting posture. At the same time, the scene just now echoed in his mind. His slash really hit him, and there was no way to dodge it. But why did Shalo's body not only not bleed, but turn into wood? At this moment, a whisper came from Susanoo's ear. It's a substitute technique. You've never seen it before, right? Little Za-san. Susanoo's pupils shrank and he wanted to respond to the slashing attack, but it was already too late. Shalo's hands were very fast. With one grab, he controlled Susanoo and immediately locked him into the divine space. Then, under the extremely shocked eyes of everyone, Shalo began to roll the balls on the spot. A few seconds later, a huge spiral pill appeared in his chest. Shalo smiled evilly, opened the divine power space, and released Susanoo. Susanoo, who still didn't understand what was going on, was completely occupied by the blue and white energy ball rotating at high speed. Extra large Rasengan. Boom boom boom. The moment Susanoo was hit, he flew out at extremely high speed, breaking countless trees along the way. The huge destructive force tears the earth apart and uproots trees. The super large Rasengan's output was so close to his face that even Susanoo's head was buzzing. Wait for the aftermath to dissipate. Susanoo's whole body was directly embedded in the earth, and he coughed out blood in embarrassment. The clothes on his chest had already been torn to pieces by the explosion. Recalling the blow just now, Susanoo couldn't help but sigh. The moment he was hit, if he hadn't subconsciously blocked it with magic power, he would have fainted. That would be embarrassing. Ahem, not bad. It's really amazing. Every time I take action it's eye-opening. As he spoke, he climbed out of the pit. The dirt and blood on his face not only did not add to his embarrassment, but instead made him look even more domineering and crazy. I didn't expect that after 1,000 years, two geniuses who fascinated me would appear at the same time. A Gojo Satoru, who was known as the strongest at the time, and a mysterious Natsuryu. The present world is far more interesting than it was 1,000 years ago, ha ha ha. Liangmian Susanoo spread his arms, looked up at the sky, and laughed crazily. His body couldn't help but tremble with excitement. Yes, this is the unique personality charm of the King of Curses. If it were anyone else who did this action, I'm afraid they would just be scolded as a middle-aged man. But if it were Susanoo, there would be no sense of violation. This kid's spells are too weird, his physical skills are also very powerful, and with his current strength of 3 fingers, I'm afraid there's really nothing he can do against him. Then only, Susanoo put his hands together and made a seal gesture, his eyes never leaving Shalo. Shalo raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at the people behind him. Stay further away. He knew that Susanoo was going to open up a lot, and he had some expectations in his heart. The field expands. Suppress the demon royal chef. As a low and hoarse voice fell. With Susanoo as the center, the domain instantly spread out within 100 meters, covering Shalo. A scream and wail echoed like a demon from hell. The endless forest aura spread out instantly with Susanoo as the center, and countless withered white skulls emerged. The ground beneath your feet is like a transparent mirror. Under the reflection, a large scarlet Buddhist shrine rises from the ground. Like the door to hell. The entire realm appears in front of everyone like a hell canvas. Although the divine power was weakened, Shalo still did not dare to be careless. Is this the realm of Susanoo? It is enough to compete with the infinite space. It is one of the strongest areas in the entire magic world. Shalo, who has read the original work, naturally understands it. The enemies in the demon-suppressing shrine will continuously suffer from 2 different attacks. Their resolution for slashing and 8, which will definitely cut off the target depending on the distance between the spell spirits. The most important thing is that Susanoo's field is different from other fields. It can be said to be a unique existence. After his domain is expanded, he is bound by the freedom to enter and exit the domain. In exchange for a larger attack range effect, the maximum radius can reach a terrifying 200 meters. It can be said that if you are unfortunate enough to be pulled into the realm, you may be cut into pieces by countless slashes in an instant. Shalo believed that the only one who could withstand the domain slash was Duo, because he would never be able to get the last slash. Outside the realm, Mei Mei and others withdrew from the field in time due to Shalo's reminder. Looking at Shalo in the distance, alone in Susanoo's territory, they couldn't help but sweat. Realm, this is the realm pursued by magicians and above. Once you understand the field, you will be ranked at the top. Even Mei Mei and Nanami have not realized it now. However, what Shalo is facing now is the domain of the cursed king Susanoo. Immediately, in their extremely shocked eyes, Susanoo slowly stretched out his hand. Swish swish swish. Within the domain, overwhelming slashes instantly engulfed Shalo at a speed that was difficult to detect with the naked eye. The surrounding buildings collapsed instantly. The earth, trees, and tall buildings instantly turned into countless smooth and neat tofu blocks. Because they were covered by slashes, Mei Mei and others could no longer see Shalo's current situation. All they know is that no one can escape this almost indiscriminate saturation attack. Even if Shalo can use unlimited substitute techniques, it will not help. After all, it takes time to cast a warlock, and this gap is enough to be hit countless times. Susanoo maintained the posture of launching a slashing attack and watched as his slashing attacks passed through Shalo's body without exception. Even though he was mentally prepared, he secretly cursed, cheating. As the cursed king from 1,000 years ago, I felt envious at this moment. It would be a beautiful thing for him to learn such a warlock. But he is not in a hurry. It must be difficult for him to maintain such a state, right? And he has already seen that Shalo, the weird warlock, can be seen from his scarlet eyes. He noticed this in the previous battle. Covered by his own indiscriminate slashes, the strange pattern was rotating faster and faster. Everything has its limits, even him. Sure enough, while thinking, Susanoo noticed that Shalo's eyes started to bleed. Susanoo looked at Shalo and said, "How long can you sustain such a high-load operation? Being defensive will only delay your death. Why don't you let it go and show your true trump card to please me?" Feeling the stinging pain in his eyes, Shalo had to admire him. As expected of Susanoo, in addition to possessing great strength, he also possesses strong combat ideas and an incredible understanding. In the later period, he could learn many warlocks that were difficult to master by just looking at them. Now, I actually saw the source of the divine power and analyzed its only weakness. Kamui's perfect incorporation time is 5 minutes. Natsuliu is not in a hurry, he wants to take this opportunity to promote the Sharingan. Under such a high-pressure situation, Shalo could clearly feel that the upper limit of the Sharingan was being exceeded. It's easy to break Susanoo's domain. Just use illusions and glare at him with all your strength. After all, in addition to having many hands, Susanoo also has many eyes. With so many eyes, if he doesn't fall for the illusion, who will? Thinking of this, Shalo couldn't help but evoke a playful smile. Swish swish swish. Under the baptism of Susanoo's countless slashes, the surrounding area was almost flattened, leaving only countless slash marks. Time passed by minute by minute. Susanoo gradually became impatient. Even if he was the king of curses, it would be very difficult to release slashes without stopping. What's more, he has only just recovered the strength of his 3 fingers now, which is far less powerful and lasting than at his peak. But looking at Shalo's constantly bleeding pupils, he felt itchy again. Compared to Gojo Satoru, he now believes that Shalo is a greater threat. All kinds of strange abilities appeared frequently, and even he found it very difficult. Moreover, it is known from Itadori's memory that he has only entered school for a few days, and if he really grows up, he may cause a lot of trouble to himself. Therefore, take advantage of this perfect opportunity when Gojo Satoru is away to completely kill the threat. So, the two stood against each other and began a protracted battle between real men. 2.5 minutes have passed. Susanoo was so tired that he was sweating profusely, and the magic power in his body was almost exhausted. This ability, Susanoo was extremely impatient and depressed. The blood coming out of this kid's eyes is enough to wash his face, how can he still maintain the blurred state? For thousands of years, he has almost always ended the battle quickly with a crushing attitude when fighting the enemy. When did it become a protracted war like today? For him who is impatient, this is simply torture. As for the outside world, Mei Mei and others were not as nervous as before. Because the scene in front of me was really weird. Susanoo always maintained the posture of releasing slashes, while Shalo was still overwhelmed by the overwhelming slashes and could not see the specific situation. The two of them just kept standing, motionless. If the atmosphere wasn't serious, Kugizaki Wild Rose would have wanted to greet them. Hello. Are you two playing with the motionless wooden man? Teacher Mei Mei, since Shalo's ability is to allow any level to pass through the body, thus benefiting the invincible position. So how long can he maintain such a perverted ability? Just now, Mei Mei, who couldn't bear to see everyone so worried, told Shalo about this ability. Mei Mei rubbed her eyebrows. I don't know exactly how long. But I believe that Shalo must be a long-lasting man. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. As expected of teacher Mei Mei, you still have the heart to joke under such circumstances. However, only Rose Kugizaki secretly looked at Mei Mei with a critical look. Teacher Mei Mei seems to have an unusual relationship with Shalo. Although she always puts on a frivolous and charming look, she seems to only do this to Shalo. Facing other people, people feel mysterious and lazy. Moreover, there was something wrong with the way she looked at Shalo, like a sister looking at a younger brother, but it seemed to be mixed with strange feelings. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Could it be that the last time teacher Nanami invited someone to dinner, only Shalo and Mei Mei didn't go? What happened to them that time? In short, there is something wrong between the two of them. 4 minutes have passed. Shalo felt that the time was ripe, and the second stage of Shuzuo Nengu seemed to be ready to be activated. He looked at Susanoo and said with a joking smile, sure enough, only by maintaining high-intensity fighting can the power of the Sharingan be further stimulated. Thank you for your hard work, Susanoo. Although the saturation slash prevents him from easily releasing the perfect blur mode, allowing him to activate the divine power of space distortion and illusion. But this time the purpose has been achieved. You brat. Susanoo was slightly angry in his heart, and the continuous high-intensity slashing gradually became too much for him. If I hadn't only had the strength of 3 fingers, how would this kid have a chance to speak? But then I thought about it, I was the only one who had the last laugh, even though both of them didn't have much spell power left in their bodies. However, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Even if he only has 3 fingers, his cursed king has more curse power than this kid. However, the next second, Susanoo was stunned. Shalo suddenly opened his eyes. The kaleidoscope pattern mixed with blood is even more magical. The scarlet blood glow is eye-catching. Susanoo. Boom. Purple flames instantly covered Shalo's body, transforming into a skeleton and wrapping Shalo inside. In the first stage of Susanoo, there was no pressure at all. However, there is still space under the soles of the feet at this stage. Easily pedicured. Shalo looked at Susanoo with a crazy smile. It's not over yet. Boom boom boom. I saw that the skeletal body originally wrapped in purple flames began to be filled with meridians and flesh. The coat of chakra is wrapped around the body, further strengthening the defense. At the same time, under Susanoo's huge body, 2 40-meter-long chakra swords were held in his hands. 5 minutes just ended, and Shalo released the perfect blur. Swish swish swish. Countless slashes hit Shuzuo Nengu, but they could only shatter his coat and leave traces on his bones. As for the Shiryu inside, it was unscathed. As soon as this form appeared, everyone present, including Susanoo, was completely dumbfounded. Susanoo looked up at the tall purple giant and couldn't help but exclaimed. Actually, there are still tricks. Boom. Shalo's goal has been achieved. He doesn't want to have any more with him, so his thoughts are moving slightly. Gana, goodbye. Shuzuo Nengu held a 40-meter-long sword and swept across it. Before the blade of the knife could reach him, the fierce wind stung his whole body and made his hair fly. Between the lightning and flint, Susanoo barely escaped 39 meters. But Shalo's knife was 40 meters long and was still hit by one blow. Boom. Susanoo's body flew out directly, his teeth shattered, and he spit out blood. At the same time, the domain of the demon-suppressing cook also collapsed. Even if he urged the reverse warlock with all his strength, he could not withstand this terrifying blow. 100 meters away, Itadori was buried in a deep pit with bruises and was unconscious. The curse lines on his face have disappeared. Inside Itadori's body, there is a mountain of bones piled with skulls. Susanoo slowly opened his eyes and grinned evilly. Interesting. Outside, the earth cracked, trees snapped, buildings collapsed, and the ground was devastated. Those who didn't know thought it was a big earthquake. Everyone in the high school opened their mouths to the maximum extent, like petrified statues, motionless. Just now, they witnessed everything with their own eyes. The purple skeleton giant suddenly appeared, and the 40-meter sword that instantly blew Susanoo away and broke the realm. Kugizaki Wild Rose tremblingly asked, Ming, Teacher Mei Mei, what was that just now? Can Shalo summon such a terrifying giant? Mei Mei opened her red lips but was speechless for a long time. Finally, she shook her head with a smile and sighed. Maybe it's a warlock similar to a Shikigami. After saying that, her eyes flickered and she stared at Shalo's back, sighing in her heart, how many other tricks does this kid have hidden? In response, everyone nodded in approval. The purple giant just now has never been used by Shalo, and it may indeed be his last trump card, the Shikigami. It's really hidden. This kind of strength is enough to rank among the top-level magicians. Kugizaki Wild Rose felt a little disappointed. Obviously everyone is a newcomer in the same class, but you suddenly become a super-level magician. Can you please stop curling up like this? It's very stressful. Fushiguro Megumi lowered his head and muttered, Shikigami. Could it be that the giant just now was really the Shikigami summoned by Shalo? This is too exaggerated. Fushiguro Megumi looked at the jade dog huddled behind his trousers in fear, and then recalled the purple giant summoned by Shalo just now. Suddenly, it didn't feel good anymore. Why are other people's Shikigami so powerful? His jade dog, man elephant, divine Nu, etc., compared in front of this purple giant, they are like cute little animals. Unless you can subdue the legendary Moxaluo, you can defeat this purple giant. Thinking of this, his eyes were firm and he secretly made up his mind. Everyone is working hard to become stronger. You must not fall behind. At this time, Natsuliu came over with some difficulty carrying Itadori who had passed out. He held back his strength in that blow just now. After all, he couldn't really kill him, right? After all, even if Itadori died, Susanoo would only lose a soul. But because of his intervention, Itadori's situation became better. In the original work, his heart was ripped out by Susanoo. Although this time, it wasn't much better, the bones and tendons all over the body were broken. But fortunately, with Shoko's presence, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Your eyes. A look of heartache appeared on Kugigasaki's face. She wanted to reach out to wipe away the blood, but she was afraid of hurting him and held back her hand. After what she said, others also noticed Shalo's bleeding eyes. What does it matter if a man sheds a little blood? But don't take advantage of the fool, Shalo said as he took her hand and put it to his face. Well, it's very smooth, moist and feels good. They say that the Kugizaki rose is a rose with thorns, but it feels quite good when you hold it in your hand. Kugizaki Wild Rose's face was slightly red, but seeing that Shalo was the great hero this time, she just turned her head away and did not break free of her hands. The reason why the Sharingan bleeds is mainly due to the 5 minutes of perfect virtual blur and the activation of the second level of virtual left power. After all, it was my first time to use Susanoo, so I wasn't sure how to release the power of the eye, and I used too much force. I believe that next time I open Susanoo, there will be no bleeding. As soon as these words came out, everyone was speechless. Brother, what do you call a little blood? Others have tears streaming down their face, but you have blood streaming down your face. It really doesn't matter. This time, everyone was very grateful to Shalo. If he hadn't stood up, the consequences would have been disastrous. Although this guy always looks carefree, he is more reliable than anyone else at critical moments. Don't just stand around like that. You'll have to trouble Dr. Shoko to treat Itadori when you get back. Shalo was a little embarrassed about Itadori, counting that this was the second time he had beaten him. Although his target was Susanoo, the one who was hurt the most was Itadori. I'm so sorry, brother Itadori. But I guess I have to beat the tiger in the future, cough cough Susanoo. Shoko put his hands into the pockets of the medical robe and said angrily, don't pretend to be relaxed. Your eyes are bleeding so much and you are not afraid of going blind. Go back and let me recover from your injuries. I will keep an eye on you personally and you are not allowed to go anywhere. Hiss. Everyone looked weird. Something is wrong, very wrong. Forget about Teacher Mei Mei. Why is Shoko's attitude towards him a bit subtle? Magic High School, in the principal's office. Aijichi told the situation in detail and respectfully. At first, Yaga Masamiki was relieved to hear this. That's great. That's great. Thanks to him being here this time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. However, he never expected that Shalu's strength would actually grow to such an extent. Being in the realm of the special curse spirit not only protects Shoko's safety, but also eliminates the special curse spirit. With such a record alone, he is enough to rank among the top-level magicians. After Sha Yuji's rebellion, there are still 3 special-level spell masters left in the high level of spells except Wujao Satoru. They are Okatsu Yuta, Shokunji, 99 Yuki. 2 are abroad, 1 was expelled. This has also led to the current scarcity of high-end combat power in spell colleges. At this moment, Yaga Masamiki has begun to think about how to naturally promote Shalu to the ranks of special magicians. It would be best if there were important factors to completely tie him to death in the Conjuration College. After all, how could such a genius be buried? At this time, Aijichi spoke, but... Seeing him acting timid, Yaga Masamiki impatiently said, if you have any farts, just let it go. The information from third-year Itadori is also wrong. What exists in the children's palace is not a first-level curse spirit at all, but... Yaga Masamiki had a bad thought in his mind, but what? Aijichi glanced at Yaga timidly, and continued, it's a special curse spirit. And Itadori's consciousness has been dominated by Susanoo. Shalu is fighting Susanoo. After mustering up the courage to speak in one breath, he closed his eyes tightly in fear, and even breathed carefully. Yaga Masamiki's expression is extremely ugly. This later news was only learned on the way back. As for the current situation there, it is unknown. Inside the office, the tense atmosphere reached its peak. Yaga Masamiki was furious, but he didn't get angry at Aijichi. Because, he smelled a conspiracy. If Natsuliu's intelligence error was an accident, then Itadori's error is unavoidable. Moreover, the tasks of the Children's Palace seem to be tasks assigned by senior officials. What is the situation inside? Do they know? Deliberately taking advantage of Gojo Satoru's absence to send the third-year students to perform this task, the real purpose could not be clearer. They are probably going to take this opportunity to kill Itadori. On the surface, he agreed to a reprieve due to pressure from Gojo Satoru, but secretly he was playing dirty tricks. Thinking of this, Yaga Masamiki felt a chill in his heart, and his expectations for the top management were greatly reduced. Are such leaders really worth working so hard for? Call. That's two-faced Susanoo. If something happens to Shalu Itadori and the others, he could no longer imagine whether Gojo Satoru, who was about to come back, would go berserk and kill all the senior officials after learning about this situation. Sigh, it's getting harder and harder to be the principal. In just one day, his mood was like riding a roller coaster. I was not happy for a few seconds just after I got the good news, but here comes another even more exciting one. When Masamiki Yaga is worried. Boom, the office door was pushed open. Mei Mei walked in with long legs and got straight to the point, overtime pay. Yaga Masamiki shook his head, feeling helpless, the debt collector is here again. When Aijichi on the side saw Mei Mei coming back, his eyes lit up, wait. Didn't teacher Mei Mei and the others go to find Shalu? Could it be said that the danger has been eliminated? Looking at the sad faces of you two, I will tell you some good news out of mercy. Then, she roughly told what happened in the children's palace. 5 minutes later, Mei Mei was satisfied, took the money and left. Yaga Masamiki clapped his hands and laughed, and the sadness on his face disappeared instantly. Good, as expected of Shalu. First, he protected Shoko from the special curse spirit, and then he actually ran to beat up Susanoo. The biggest crisis was relieved. Shalu is simply his lucky star. Now he feels more and more that the beating he received was not in vain. Fortunately, Shalo successfully enrolled in school. I just don't know why there were 2 missing when the cursed remains were counted later. This day is more exciting than a roller coaster. After calming down, he let Aijichi leave, lit a cigarette casually, lowered his head and thought deeply. This time, Shalo did not take action, and the consequences would be disastrous. However, in this way, Shalo also ruined the plan of the top management in disguise. I hope those rotten old men don't target Natsuliu, otherwise they won't blame him for Yaga Masamiki's rebellion. Unconsciously, Yaga Masamiki's mentality quietly changed. Infirmary. Shalo was forced to the hospital bed by Shoko, and his eyes were wrapped with several layers of white gauze. And, the one wrapped like a mummy in the hospital bed next to him is Itadori. Although except for the eyes, there were no other injuries. The battle with Susanoo benefited him a lot, and he also realized his shortcomings. That is, the chakra curse power in the body is too little, not enough. Lack of blue. Especially after Susan was activated, the amount of chakra consumed was so great that it almost drained him all at once. While Shalo was thinking, the door of the infirmary was pushed open. A burst of footsteps reached my ears. The people who came were Shoko and Gojo Satoru, who had just returned. Just as Shalo was about to sit up straight, a pair of jade hands pressed him down. Shoko leaned into Shalo's ear and whispered, "My great benefactor, don't move. I'll treat you to a drink later." Wow, Shoko, you treat me too differently. I've never seen you be so gentle to anyone before. Upon seeing this, Gojo Satoru immediately seized the opportunity to make a joke. Shoko blushed slightly and glared at him. Gojo Satoru did not dare to continue speaking, but came to Shalo and smiled. "Shiryu-san, oh no. It's teacher Shiryu. Are you imitating me by wrapping your eyes like this? Although I know that I am the object of everyone's admiration, please don't be so fanatical, I will be shy hehe." The corner of Shalo's mouth twitched, and he didn't know how to answer for a moment. Shoko on the side picked up a stick and was about to hit Gojo Satoru on the head. Gojo Satoru's expression suddenly changed, and he said extremely seriously, "Ahem. Shoko, can you go out for a while and give him and me some space to be alone?" Hearing this, Shoko also put down the stick in her hand. She knew that Gojo Satoru had known the whole story after returning, and she should be suppressing the anger in her heart at this moment. "Don't bully my wounded man. Don't worry, Shalo and I are truly in love. How could we be willing to bully him?" Boom. After Shoko left, Shalo took the opportunity to pull off the white cloth wrapped around his eyes. "It's so uncomfortable to be tied up with this thing. I don't know how you got used to it." Gojo Satoru was shocked by this move. "Brother, don't do it. Shoko will think that I picked it for you later and will be beaten." "Don't worry, I'm sensible, my eyes are almost recovered. Eye bleeding is not caused by injury, but by excessive consumption of pupil power." Shoko and the others misunderstood. After a few seconds of silence, Gojo Satoru looked at Itadori and started to get to the point. "Natsuliu, thanks to you for taking action this time. From Yaga Loudener, I have a general understanding of what happened. If you hadn't taken action, Itadori and the others might have died." Gojo Satoru sat next to Shalo and said seriously. Shalo was stunned. Of course he knew that having read the original work, in fact, even if he didn't interfere this time, nothing would happen to everyone. Itadori, whose heart was ripped out, was also resurrected after reaching an agreement with Susanoo. But, of course Gojo Satoru didn't know the outcome of the matter. Of course Shalo would not miss the opportunity to increase his favorability. No matter whether it is useful or not, brush it first and then talk about it. Shalo, ahem, after all, I am also a teacher now. Naturally, I cannot ignore the students' difficulties. It should be done. Gojo Satoru was grateful in his heart. Sure enough, he was not wrong about the person at first. Although Shalo has a mysterious background and mysterious abilities, he is an expert in spells. Yaga Masamiki was so stupid back then that he actually sent Meimei to investigate him. Then he looked at Shalo and said seriously, "You also know about Itadori Yuji. This incident is obviously a secret plan from above, and they want to kill people with a borrowed knife. Deliberately transferred me away, then got rid of Itadori, and even let Fushiguro Kugasaki be buried with him, just to give me a wake-up call. Haha, those old men are simply the devil's nest in the world of magic. A fool who is obsessed with self-preservation, a hereditary fool, an arrogant and selfish fool, is simply a basket of rotten oranges. There is no cure. With my ability, it is very easy to kill them all, but this way of treating the symptoms rather than the root cause is just changing a group of people, which makes no sense. And no one will follow me if I do this, so I devoted myself fully to education. Cultivate strong, intelligent and reliable partners. Having said this, Gojo Satoru leaned over and looked at Shalo seriously, for example, a reliable partner like Shalo-kun. Anyway, thank you very much for your help. I'll treat you to your favorite shijufu when you have time, hehe. Gojo Satoru stood up and said with a smile, how is the strength of Urzuzuki Nuo? Is it much more powerful than the first time? Remember to call me next time. Wouldn't it be nice for us to play together as a pair? Shalo was slightly startled. Urzushitsu Nuo. That's right, before Itadori woke up, everyone didn't know that Susanoo had swallowed 3 fingers. Seeing Shalo pretending to be dumbfounded, Gojo Satoru stretched out 2 fingers and said with a smile. Don't hide your strength. Last time, in order to test the strength of Itadori as a container, I took the initiative to feed Itadori 1 finger, so it's 2 fingers. Shalo stretched out 3 hands. You misunderstood, I hit 3 fingers. Before the fight, Susanoo killed the special curse spirit and obtained the fingers from its body. Ah, Gojo Satoru was stunned and froze in place, and it took him a while to recover. I see. No wonder Nanami told me that Susanoo has opened a field. This news is very important. Thank you for reminding me. After saying that, Gojo Satoru walked out the door. The number of fingers is very important and must not be miscalculated. Therefore, he wanted to tell others such an important thing. After Gojo Satoru left, Shalo opened the system page. After the wave at the abandoned construction site, I gained a lot of points. The pure love spell spirit alone added up to 50,000 points, plus the miscellaneous fish killed along the way. Shalo now has a total of 80,000 points. From this time, we can learn that the points given by special level spell spirits are not fixed at 10,000, but are determined based on strength. The 4 major natural disasters that were about to appear appeared in Shalo's mind involuntarily. Clepsydra, Waiu, Genrin, Doleong. These 4 are all heavyweight players. If they clicked, wouldn't it mean that they would immediately become rich? Open store. Taijutsu Automatic Training Card, Supreme Annual Card. Price, 10,000 points. The Art of Flying Thunder God. Price, 50,000 points. Yellow Flash. Is there anything faster than it? 100% Black Flash, Full Level Enlightenment, 10,000 points. Punches and A levels or critical hits. Spell High Precision Sniper. Price, 20,000 points. Sir, times have changed. Special Cursed Tool. Sharingan Eye Drops. Price, 500 points to prevent overuse of eyes and becoming blind. Double Gun Sand Eagle. Ghost. Price, 20,000 points. As for who I am, the double gun will give the answer. Special Cursed Tool. I am very satisfied with the flow of newly released products. The most powerful teleportation technique, the Flying Thunder God, is here. And it also has 100% Black Flash. You know, Black Flash is the strongest normal attack in the spell battle. The general principle is, when the error between the blow and the impact of the spell is extremely small, strong spatial distortion will occur, and the power is objective. However, there are only a handful of spellcasters and spell spirits who can cast Black Flash, and it is only an unintentional accident. Before the Shibuya incident, the highest record of Black Flashes was 4 times, by Itadori and Nanami. Shalo thought, Black Flash seems to match his 8-gate Dunjia very well, and the price is not very expensive. Place your order decisively. Suddenly, heat flowed through Shalo's mind, and an extremely mysterious light filled his body. In a short while, he mastered all the elements of Black Flash and became extremely skilled. Boom! Shalo punched the air. Black lightning suddenly appeared like a thunder snake, and the sound of breaking through the air echoed in the infirmary. Then, Shalo punched continuously without any thought. Boom boom boom. Every punch is accompanied by black lightning. Sha showed a satisfied smile. The system is indeed out of control. Is 100% Black Flash okay? I wonder if Susanoo can bear it. Next, there are 70,000 points left. Shalo was in a dilemma. What should she buy? He was really attracted by the Flying Thunder God technique. After all, it was so cool. And it was also very fast. But with his divine power, he can also teleport behind the enemy and so on, but it doesn't seem to be used yet. Mada, if you hesitate, you will lose. Place your order directly. Rub. Shalo's body was instantly filled with golden light, and he mastered the key to the Flying Thunder God's technique instantly. Shalo opened his eyes and took out the 2 daggers he captured from the divine power space when he destroyed the Curse Master group last time. He carved the mark of the Flying Thunder God on it, and then threw it out the window. Whoosh! The next moment, Shalo appeared directly on the big tree 100 meters away. At this moment, Shalo had only one thought in his mind: so fast. This is teleportation in the true sense. Phew! The whirlpool appeared, and Shalo returned to the hospital bed again. I use the divine power shuttle and Flying Thunder God techniques in turn, it's so arrogant. But now that I have acquired the Flying Thunder God technique, it is necessary to leave my traces everywhere in the college. In the end, there were still 50,000 points left, so Shalo chose to buy the Spell High Precision Sniper. He had been coveting this sniper for a long time, but he had kept it aside for so long because of Banya's ninjutsu spell. Just imagine, after a while, he suddenly hid in the divine space, and then only exposed a sniper barrel. Silently shooting black guns. Gia Gia Gia. On a beautiful beach. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The real person was lying on the golden beach and rolling around. Shayuji, on the side, shook his head and laughed helplessly. The most twisted love spell spirit has been eliminated. Even the most powerful first-level spellcaster can't do it. Except for Gojo Satoru and those few special-level magicians, who else has this ability? Shayu, please tell me something. It was a top-quality research material, but it was wiped out like this. I'm so angry. Tired from rolling around, Genrin rushed to Shayuji's side, shook his arm and wanted to explain. Because he knew that Shayuji used to be a conjurer and knew the situation there very well. Okay, don't be angry. Shayuji touched the real person's head lovingly and said warmly. I haven't been back to the conjuring high school for a long time. Maybe there is another genius comparable to Okatsu there. If that's the case, consider yourself unlucky. Call. Hearing this, the real person sighed, looked at the endless ocean in the distance, and complained feebly. Why haven't those 2 guys from Clepsydra Wyu come yet? Do they have Lao Han's leg? Such stains. Shayuji narrowed his eyes and smiled. The latest news is that the 2 of them plan to surprise Gojo Satoru. Do you want to come with them? The real person's expression was slightly stagnant. Surprise attack on Gojo Satoru. Tired of living? You go ahead. I want to take the opportunity to transform some more powerful man-made curse spirits before the battle. In the medical room, after testing the reward, Shalo lay down contentedly. The only drawback is that I didn't get any chakra-increasing items. I don't have many requirements, not to mention Hashirama cells, but something with the capacity of a tailed beast would be fine. Recalling the battle with Susanoo, the most obvious shortcoming was K-Lan. I have quite a few methods now, but the more I do this, the more chakra I need. Speaking of such an important event this time, the system is silent. Since the last time I posted the task of taking off Maki's black stockings, she disappeared. Could it be that you scolded it for being inappropriate and got angry? Well, even though it was me who took off the stockings, I was also the one who took advantage. But taking a step back, is there nothing wrong with the system itself? He is a gentleman, and he actually lets himself do such a thing, ahem. At this time, a new life choice has been opened. Task Option 1. Accept Shoko's invitation to have a drink. Reward. Chakra recovery speed plus 20%. Task Option 2. Confess your love to Mei Mei, ask her to put her hair in a ponytail, and have in-depth communication. Reward. Illusion. Tsukuyomi. Task Choice 3. There is no woman in my heart, draw the sword of the god of nature, reject them all. Reward. 10,000 points. Mist grass. Tisk tisk. Shalo rubbed his chin and fell into deep thought while looking at the 3 choices. First of all, exclude 3 or 10,000 points. Where are the beggars? If there is no woman in my heart, the speed of drawing the knife will indeed be faster, but it has nothing to do with him. Is it okay if my weapons are a round fan and a big sniper? Times have changed. Then there are only one or two options left. Having a drink with Shoko can increase chakra recovery speed by 20%, which is really delicious. But in terms of cost effectiveness, Tsukuyomi seems to be more delicious, especially for someone with eyes like Susanoo. One glare is accurate. The genjutsu that comes with the Sharingan may lack some lethality. However, Tsukuyomi is different. Even Susanoo, who is strong-willed, should be honest after being hit by several illusions. So Shalo prefers the second choice. But is this task too difficult? Let's not talk about whether the confession can be successful. Do you really want Mei to tie herself in a double ponytail? Will she agree? Although the other party seemed to have a little interest in him, Shalo was not a fool and he was somewhat aware of it. The most outrageous thing is the in-depth communication. Is this in-depth communication a serious communication or, "Hello, system, are you here? Is this in-depth exchange serious?" There was no response in my mind. Grass. If you don't answer, I'll act as if I'm not serious. Just as Shalo was straining against the system's limits, the door was opened. Shoko's beautiful eyes widened, with a bit of anger mixed in his expression, and he walked toward Shalo with his hands on his hips. Shalo secretly said something bad. At an extremely fast speed, he wrapped the medical gauze around his eyes again, and then fell asleep. Due to time constraints, Shalo was completely blind and messy, causing the gauze tied around his eyes to be twisted. Like a 25-year-old boy. PFF'd. Seeing this, Shoko, who was still a little angry, was also amused. Shoko covered his lips and smiled softly. Okay, if it's really uncomfortable, just take it off. After saying that, he picked up the apple on the table and started peeling it skillfully. With her permission, Shalo took off the uncomfortable gauze. Immediately afterwards, his mouth was blocked by a fresh, shiny, cleanly peeled apple. He held the apple in his hand and blinked at Shoko. Thank you for saving me this time. Do you want to drink together tonight? I'll treat you. Shoko's pretty face turned red, and she mustered up the courage to look at Shalo. It's okay if the other party is a girl, but if you invite a boy alone for drinking, it goes without saying. It is undeniable that after this incident, she developed a good impression of Shalo. Although it sounds cliché for a hero to save a beauty, it is actually effective, simple and crude. Facing Shalo's piercing eyes, Shoko felt hot all over and turned his gaze away, not daring to look at him. I have been single for so long, and this is the first time I have experienced this feeling. What a shame. In fact, she still had a question to ask Shalo, but she didn't know how to ask it. Before, when she hid in Shalo's divine space, she saw stockings and bras. Does Shalo still have a hobby in this area? Probably not, right? In short, it's better not to ask about this kind of thing. Looking at the other party's expectant eyes, Shalo was a little moved. I have to say, Shoko is so beautiful that he couldn't help but want to agree. In the medical room, the atmosphere gradually became pleasant, and only the two of them were left alone. Oh no, there is also Itadori, who is wrapped up like a mummy and is unconscious. However, at this moment, boom, the door to the infirmary was pushed open hard. Seeing that the rare atmosphere was broken, Shoko's blush disappeared and was replaced by 3 black lines. Just as he was about to turn around and curse, he quickly stopped. Because the person who came was none other than Sister Mei, whom she admired. Mei swung her braid in front of her forehead and walked elegantly with her long black stocking legs. It seems I came at the wrong time. Please forgive me, I have important matters to discuss with Shalo. After saying that, Mei shook off the card in her hand and looked at Shoko with an apologetic look. Shoko pouted depressedly. It seemed that he couldn't drink today's wine. She naturally knew what Mei was holding. It was Shalo's teacher's certificate. She must have a lot of things to note with Shalo. It's better not to bother yourself with serious matters. Then, Shalo, I will definitely invite you another day. Don't refuse. After saying that, Shoko closed the door of the infirmary skillfully. Shalo looked at Mei nervously, and Mei also looked at Shalo with a half smile. If it were normal, Shalo would look at her with admiration at most. But now, he can't calm down. The brain is working at a rapid speed, searching for the golden words of confession that have been read before. At this moment, his brain is running at a speed of 250 cycles per second. However, Shalo was desperate. In his memory, the golden words of confession that he could use were not applicable to women like Mei Mei. It's okay to coax a simple girl like Maki, but it's obviously not enough for the mature Mei Mei. While Shalo was thinking hard, a card was handed over. This is. Shalo took the card and looked at it carefully. The content above is clearly information about him, and the most conspicuous column is that he has changed from a student to a teacher. All other basic identity information is empty. Question mark. Why is the hair gender also empty? There is no doubt that you passed this teacher assessment exceeding the requirements. You can fill in the above information as you please. Mei Mei gave him a knowing look. Through this incident, no one cares about Shalo's identity. Save Shoko first and then Itadori, breaking the high-level conspiracy. Even if Natsuliu was a curse master before, Yaga Masamiki could only treat him as blind. What's more, he is not. Seemingly thinking of something, Mei Mei then added. The identity of a teacher is only valid for teachers and students in Tokyo schools. This is the maximum authority that Yaga can achieve. As for the reason, you know. Shalo nodded. With this status as a teacher, it would be easier for him to dig and teach students. Then, Mei Mei also used her magic power to quickly peel an apple and stuff it into Shalo's mouth. Shalo was speechless, but he had no choice but to bite the bullet. For the first time, I was full after eating an apple. After a brief silence, she looked at Shalo. You know, from the moment you decide to become a conjurer, you are prepared to die in a bad way. So, neither the teachers nor the students of the Conjuration College have ever asked for love. Principal Yaga also divorced his wife because of this. Having said this, she lowered her eyes slightly, was silent for a second, and said in a deep voice. But unfortunately, I have recently fallen in love with a certain little brother. I was too embarrassed to do it before because of the teacher-student relationship. I wonder if he would dislike me being older than him. Mei Mei's beautiful eyes twinkled and she looked towards Shalo with a smile. Shalo's body was shocked. Misty grass. No way. Why do you feel that she is talking about you? Is this one of the 3 major delusions in life? Shalo didn't dare to bet. Hearing Mei Mei's tone, she might have to confess her love. She first said where she was going to confess her love. Without this step, the task may not be complete. No matter how much it is, social death will be social death. Anyway, I am thick-skinned. So Shalo gritted his teeth and said, Teacher Mei Mei, I like you. Can you be my girlfriend? As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the entire infirmary instantly solidified. Mei Mei, Shoko eavesdropping outside the door. Itadori, who has just regained consciousness, not a buddy. Ding dong. Warm reminder. The confession stage has been completed, please keep up the good work. Current progress 33.3%, 100%. Shalo's mouth twitched. Quite humane. After a moment of silence, Mei Mei quickly suppressed the excitement in her eyes and pretended to be surprised. What do you like about me? What do you like? Speaking of liking her, we have to start from another world. As early as in the comics, he had a strong interest in Mei Mei. Who wouldn't love this mature lady with a slim figure, hair that covers her face, and powerful strength? But of course we can't talk about the time travelers, and no one would believe it if we did. So he looked at Mei Mei, lowered his gaze slightly, and his mind started to heat up. Do you like your big white legs? Oops, accidentally, I expressed my true thoughts. Shalo regretted it as soon as the words came out of his mouth. Mei Mei, even if it was her face could not help but turn a faint blush when she heard such words. Is this brat so direct? No, is he so superficial? Can your whole body, just your legs, attract him? After being briefly absent-minded, Mei Mei gave him a cold look, with a teasing smile on her lips. Big white legs. If I remember correctly, I seem to have always worn black stockings. How did you know that my legs are white? Could it be that you used that mysterious spatial ability to do something improper? Such as peeking. Of course she knew that Shalo would not do such a thing, she just wanted to punish him a little. She was obviously mentally prepared this time and wanted to express her feelings to Shalo. In the end, this kid actually said it first. Hum. Although I really want to agree, I can't let him get away with it like this. Ahem. At this time, Itadori, who was in the hospital bed next to him, couldn't bear it anymore. You were so seriously injured, but when you woke up, you heard such an explosive conversation. Although he is now wrapped up inside and out, he cannot see the situation outside. But by the sound of the voice, I knew it was Shalo and teacher Mei Mei. As expected of Natsuliu-san, first she was Sister Baidongzui Kugizaki and now she even doesn't let teacher Mei Mei off. If you want to express your love, why not find a place where no one is around? Do you really think he doesn't exist? They both looked towards Itadori. Shalo cast a grateful look at him, thanking him for the rescue, otherwise he really wouldn't know how to answer. Mei Mei frowned in displeasure, came to Itadori's bedside, and smiled gloomily. Itadori-kun, you didn't hear anything, right? You don't want to faint again just after waking up, do you? Itadori, oh, I must have been too seriously injured this time, and I had auditory hallucinations. I didn't hear anything. After saying that, Itadori stiffened and lay motionless on the bed. Shalo looked at Itadori with some sympathy. This brother Itadori is really miserable. He just woke up and was forced to shut down. After doing all this, Mei Mei looked at Shalo thoughtfully. I don't accept your confession. Unless you come with me back home and have an in-depth discussion about the casting of spells and the creation of warlocks. Question mark exclamation mark. Wukao, are you sure this isn't for free? Originally, he was worried about how to proceed, but you just opened the door and invited him home. In-depth exchanges on the casting of spells and the creation of warlocks. He could see the almost unconcealable excitement in the other person's eyes. Even if Mei Mei hides deeply, she can't escape his eyes. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my back. How do you feel that she is the hunter? Seeing Shalo's expression change, Mei Mei thought he was in trouble. Humph, I've hinted so clearly and you're still pretending to be reserved. You have to go even if you don't want to go today. Mei Mei smiled but said, Humph, you don't want everyone to know about hiding black stockings and bras in your space, right? Boom. These words were like thunder in the sky, roaring in his mind. Question mark exclamation mark. What a careless thing. She didn't say that she really forgot about this. She bought the bra casually from the system mall. There is no other reason. Just to refresh items, absolutely no other ideas. As for the black stockings, I didn't have to wash them, I took them off Maki's legs by myself. But how did Mei Mei know? So far, only Shoko has entered my Kamui space. Wait, Shoko. Shalo patted his head and suddenly realized. No wonder Shoko looked at him strangely since he came out of his Kamui space. This time the society is completely dead. The house collapsed. No, it is already in ruins. It's all because of this crooked system. In that case, he looked at Mei Mei and sneered, just go. I'll have an in-depth exchange with you tonight. But I have a small request. Do you want to wear a pair of ponytails? Beautiful steps, plump figure, the royal sister from childhood to adulthood. Long silver blue hair covers her face, her left eye is used to forget you, and her right eye is used to remember you. Shalo, who was following behind, couldn't help complaining. She and Gojo Satoru together probably wouldn't be able to form a complete face. I don't know if she agreed. Just now, after Shalo proposed that the other party should wear double ponytails, Mei Mei just smiled meaningfully. Said, go home with her first. Tokyo, Mei Meijia. Yu, have you studied hard recently? Hearing this sentence, Shalo was stunned. I almost forgot, Mei Mei also has a younger brother. Although he is also a magician, he is still a primary school student who cannot escape the fate of going to school. I saw a little boy with short blue hair carrying a cartoon school bag running out happily. It looks like he is getting ready to go to school. Hey, sister, who is he? Yu frowned slightly and looked at Shalo with careful eyes. My elder sister is almost 30 and has never been in a relationship before. This time she actually brought home a pretty boy. No, there are spell fluctuations on his body, he is not a simple pretty boy. You must take good care of your sister. Shalo and Yu stared at each other with big eyes. Mei Mei introduced. This is my younger brother Yu, who is also a magician. It's just that he's still in school. After a brief introduction, Mei Mei motioned him to go to school quickly so as not to be late. He glanced at Shalo and signaled him to enter his room. Yu didn't dare to disobey her sister's order, so she snorted coldly, and when she passed by Shalo, she threatened in a low voice. If you dare to bully my sister, you will look good on me. After that, he waved his small fist twice to threaten Shalo. Shalo couldn't help but pinch his cheek and chuckled in a low voice. If you don't mind your own business, I'll buy you 10 summer homework books later. I'll tear up all the answers and let your sister watch you write the whole thing. Gia. These words fell into Yuyu's ears like a devil's whisper. Yuyu's pupils contracted violently, her breathing stagnated, and her whole body felt horrified. There are actually such vicious and cruel people in the world. Well, I suddenly feel that you and my sister are a good match, so I won't bother you. I have been honest, please let me go. After saying that, he ran out of the house like flying. Looking at Yuyu who was escaping, Shalo's lips raised. There is nothing to fear from a mere elementary school student. Just take 2 sets of 3-year simulations of the 5-year college entrance examination and you will be honest. There were no lights on in the room. Faint light shines through the gaps in the curtains, providing some light. There was no other furniture except for a TV that was a little dusty. In these years, I usually live in the school dormitory with Utahime and rarely go home. Shalo turned away and saw Mei sitting in front of the mirror, looking at Shalo with a smile through the reflection of the mirror. At this moment, she has disheveled hair. Her long silver blue hair is like a galaxy, spreading to her shoulders. Bring it on, Shalo. Ah, don't you want to see the twin ponytails? To satisfy your hobby, you have to do it yourself. Mei had a sly smile on her lips, as if she understood you. Shalo took a deep breath and walked behind her. Start with hair, silky and smooth. He picked up his phone and searched for tutorials on how to do double ponytails without hesitation. Just watching and learning, a pair of energetic, agile and lively twin tails appeared in front of me. Looking at herself in front of the mirror, Mei smiled slightly, which was a bit playful. I never thought that I would have such a scene. Shalo couldn't move his eyes away and said that if it were paired with a school uniform, it would be a surefire success. His mind started to heat up, and he reached out his hands in a daze to hold the 2 high-raised twin ponytails. However, pull back slightly. Mei. Surprise. How dare he? She is no longer a little girl, so she naturally knows what this action means. She bit her red lips tightly, feeling ashamed and angry. What's going on in this little fool's head all day long? From the first meeting, she could tell that Shalo was very concerned about her hair and seemed to have a deep obsession. So it turned out that he was hiding such dirty thoughts. Humph. Forget it, let him get his wish, who makes it difficult for him to fall in love with someone. No matter how messed up Shalo was, she couldn't feel any blame in her heart. Mei is a woman with a very strong personality. If you really want to find a partner, it must be a man who is powerful and can completely conquer you. Shalo, on the other hand, fully meets his own standards. Whether it's the first time he's followed or the strength he's shown these past few times, it's all amazing. She has always been decisive and doesn't like to push and pull. After making a decision in her heart, she immediately made a move. Ding dong. Warm reminder. The double ponytail achievement has been achieved, please keep up your efforts. Current progress 66.6%, 100%. The system prompt brought Shalo back to reality. Looking at Mei's red ears and shameful eyes, he quickly let go. Missed grass. It's all because I read too many study materials in the past and formed muscle memory. When Shalo saw this, he immediately smiled and said, ahem. I couldn't help myself, I'm sorry. Does it feel good? Shalo nodded subconsciously, then immediately shook his head violently. Ha. Mei rolled her eyes at him. Are you satisfied? Then it's my turn. This time, she also wanted to learn about the sorcerer's insights and physical skills from Shalo. After all, he can always come up with amazing spells from time to time, and even his physical skills can suppress Sanji Susanoo throughout the whole process. Perhaps, you can learn something from him, and then you can learn from it and advance to the level of a special magician. Under the night light, bright silver light fell on the room. Shalo and Mei were lying on the bed, facing each other. The two of them were in a somewhat delicate state at the moment. They were not wearing any clothes, and the only thing covering their bodies was the thin quilt on the bed. Mei raised her eyebrows and sneered, "What? Wasn't your mind filled with all kinds of things before, but now you are calmer?" Just now, she wanted to ask Shalo some questions about warlocks. But this kid was completely absent-minded and kept staring at the two twin ponytails above her head. It's just asking questions and answering questions. Index, then just be honest with him and invite him to bed to see enough. But in the end, this kid seemed to be shocked and became honest. Looking at Mei's looming pair of little white rabbits, Shalo's belly felt hot and he quickly put a pillow between his legs. Now that the two of them are so close, it would be bad to poke her. The gun can hardly be suppressed. There's nothing he can do, it's like he has turned on automatic aiming now, he can't look away at all. Shalo sighed helplessly. Mei, it's so dazzling that my brain can't think. The corner of Mei's mouth curled up slightly. Really? Just as Shalo was about to nod, he felt his eyes go dark, and his whole head was buried directly into a ball of extremely soft dough, and the milky fragrance filled his heart. Heaven is here. Feeling the hot breath on her chest, she blushed slightly, caressed the back of her head lovingly, and said softly, "Shalo, are you willing to die for me?" Appeared, the classic sentence of the original Mei, but this time the target was changed to herself. Shalo silently smelled the fragrance of milk and said in a muffled voice, "Bow down, Ba. I'm exhausted." Mei patted his head. "Stop doing this. You are not as simple as you seem on the surface, be more serious." Even though the two of them had been honest with each other, she still didn't know Shalo's true thoughts. From the first meeting, I felt that he was like a mysterious whirlpool. Once I had the intention of exploring, I could never find my way out again. Shalo was silent for a while and said in a deep voice, "I only live for myself, but I can guarantee that you will have no worries." After a brief silence, Mei showed a satisfied smile. "The answer is quite satisfactory. Then let's start in-depth communication. Let's start with the serious stuff." Early the next morning, the two took intravenous injections and prepared to go back to school. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, the illusion. Tsukuyomi is automatically integrating into the Sharingan. Please host be prepared. If you want to integrate, just integrate, but do you need to be prepared? However, the next second, a biting cold current filled his eyes, and the scene in his eyes changed instantly. Dum, dum, dum. There was a blood moon in the sky, and crows covered the sky. In a closed space, a cross stood on the ground, exuding the terrifying aura of the abyss. This is the same execution platform as Itachi Uchiha. Looking at the familiar sight in front of him, he murmured to himself. Suppressing the excitement in my heart, my thoughts moved slightly. Miso miso miso. Countless huge nails instantly pierced the cross, turning the originally empty cross into a hedgehog. Just imagine, what would happen if you dragged the enemy here and let him enjoy it for 3 days and 3 nights. There is no doubt that a weak-willed person will collapse directly. What a powerful genjutsu. This kind of lethality is far more powerful than the genjutsu that comes with the Sharingan before. It is indeed a Tsukuyomi. If used well, it will be a surefire success. As a result, he has one more trump card. Haha, don't Susanoo and Naohua like to fight intelligence wars? He has quite a few trump cards. After a while, my eyes returned to the taxi. Mei leaned on her shoulder. Her hair was messy, as if she had been through a big battle, and a satisfied smile appeared on her lips. At this moment, her face was rosy and radiant, and her whole body exuded seductive charm. Recalling the madness last night, Shalo felt endless aftertaste. I have to say, Mei's resilience is really good. Half pushing and half lowering, the two of them had played through all the positions they could think of. Her charming whisper echoed in his mind involuntarily. Later, Masamiki Yewen will hold a ceremony for you to be promoted to teacher. Remember to behave well. Feeling Shalo's gaze, Mei said weakly. Conjuring High School, on the football field. Itadori, Kugasaki, Fushiguro, and second-year students Maki, Inamaki, and Panda were all sitting in the audience, listening to Masamiki's chatter. Itadori, are you healed now? Shalo moved a stool casually and looked at Itadori Yuji in shock. You were still covered in bandages yesterday, but are you completely fine today? Even if you have a special physique, it's not that exaggerated, right? How can it be so fast? The internal injuries haven't healed yet. Teacher Gojo called me here and said he would treat me to a AAA movie later. The deer bumped into each other. Terrified, blushing and heart beating. These are the general movie information that Gojo Satoru revealed to him just now. It sounds very exciting. Itadori's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Shalo smiled and said nothing. He knew that Itadori was about to receive special training from Gojo Satoru. Watch movies to practice your magic output. Itadori's strength seems to have improved greatly from this moment on. Then, Itadori rubbed his hands, winked and said, "But having said that, Shalo, you are so awesome. You must have gone on a date with teacher Mei Mei last night, right? I heard it all. How is it going? Did you hold hands? Did you get your first kiss? I feel like you are so good at confessing your love directly. Can you teach me? I have never been in love since I was a child, hee. The corner of Shalo's mouth twitched. So, Itadori woke up early yesterday. After what he said, it seemed that there was a girl in the original novel who had a crush on Itadori for a long time. Itadori's voice was always loud, and everyone around heard the conversation between the two. What, did you hear that right? Shalo actually took down teacher Mei Mei. No wonder, the two of them came back together just now. For a moment, everyone looked back and forth at Mei Mei and Shalo with subtle eyes. Panda rubbed his chin. Tisk tisk, don't tell me, teacher Mei Mei seems to have become a bit more beautiful, seems to have more charm. And this kid Shalo, wait a minute. He actually still has undried strawberry marks on his neck. For a moment, everyone looked at it carefully. Tisk tisk, no way, has this kid Shalo truly won? Gojo Satoru suddenly appeared from behind and put his hand on Shalo's shoulder. Shalo-jun, you didn't see it. Even Mei Mei was captured by you. I thought you were going on a date with Shoko last night. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was silent. Question mark, question mark, question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. From Gojo Satoru's tone, it seems that even Shoko is interested in Natsuliu. Good guy, you've only been here a few days and you've already picked up two goddesses. With the resentful look in Shoko's eyes in the stands, I'm afraid he will be killed by Shalo soon. Kugizuki Wild Rose couldn't bear it anymore. Hey, can you two grown men stop gossiping? Gojo Satoru was startled and said with a smile, why are you reacting so fiercely, Wild Rose-san? Could it be that you also have feelings for Shalo? No, no. Kugizuki Wild Rose stood up from her seat like a spring. I have absolutely no idea about Shalo. Quiet, extreme silence. Kugizuki Wild Rose almost shouted. In normal times, it might be okay, but now we are in a conference, and teachers and classmates are all present. Then, everyone's eyes turned to her. Good guy, did you jump out on your own? It was clear that Gojo Satoru was just making a joke, but there was such a big reaction in the end. Gojo Satoru leaned into Shalo's ear and said in admiration, you are invincible Shalo, remember to be responsible. Moreover, it is not difficult to see from his 6 eyes that the expression of Maki, the second grader over there, seems a little weird. But he no longer dared to test it because the hit rate was too high. For a moment, even Masamiki, the principal, stopped speaking. The whispers off the field had already disrupted his thoughts before, but now they were directly blowing up the field. Do you still take him as the principal seriously? Kugizuki Wild Rose, do you want to rebel? And you teachers, you have your grievances and your debts, so you can resolve it privately with Shalo. After saying that, he was smiling in his heart. Hee, I was originally thinking about how to tie Shalo to death in the Magic College. Now he finally got the chance. If it is true as they say, this Mei Mei who fell into the eyes of money can be regarded as making a huge contribution to the College of Magic. Go, everyone, go find Shalo and tie him to death. The potential of Shalo is huge. In the audience, Shalo was already sweating profusely. Because, Mei Mei was crossing her arms, staring at herself with a gloomy face and a smile. Looking at the faint smile hidden at the corner of Masamiki's mouth, he understood. Okay, Yi Louding, if you want to do this, don't blame me for poaching. I will directly dig you into a polished commander. No, When the time comes, we will directly recruit him as the principal and directly take over the Conjuration College. He has had this idea for a long time, which is why he has not taken the initiative to find the Akatsuki organization's stronghold. Isn't this huge magic college the best base? Night Goose Masamiki coughed twice and said loudly. Okay, everyone, calm down. Now I announce that the Conjuration College has a new teacher. As soon as these words came out, the students in the audience all looked confused. New teacher. As everyone knows, those who can become a teacher must have at least quasi-level strength, and they must also be accompanied by major teachers and pass the assessment to meet the standards. Apart from Shalo, I haven't seen any new faces these days, right? Is it possible that Juju Yuji, who loves traveling the most, got tired of traveling and came back to become a teacher? For a time, the uninformed students kept talking. Night Goose Masamiki glanced at Natsuliu. Please invite the new teacher to come on stage and say hello. Hey, you idiot Shalo, why are you going? Seeing Shalo getting up, Kugizaki Wild Rose reminded him in a low voice. She was in a big embarrassment just now, and Yin Yen's face is still dark now. At this time, Itadori and others also looked at him with doubtful eyes. Shalo responded with a relieved smile. Panda, wait a minute. Isn't the new teacher this guy? Shalo walked onto the stage, first looked at each other and smiled at Mei Mei, then looked at the confused people below and said with a smile. Hello everyone, my name is Shalo, a new teacher in the high school. Please take good care of me in the future. The audience was in an uproar. Nani, it's actually this kid. The one you just guessed was a panda, right? That's a prophet's knife. Itadori, Fushiguro, stared at Natsuliu who was speaking on the stage in disbelief. Not a buddy. A few days ago, we were casting spells together in Roppongi, but today you secretly became a teacher. I treat you as a brother, but you treat us as students. When did he complete the teacher assessment? Although Shalo's strength is obvious to all. But, is it really okay to let this guy be a teacher? Why do you feel less reliable than Teacher Gojo? Kugizaki Wild Rose has complicated eyes. What a trouble, you actually let this guy become your teacher. Then how can you make him bow down under your pomegranate skirt and call you queen? Night Goose Masamiki is so confused. As the first member to join Shao, she knew very well what Shalo wanted to do. Now that you have given him the identity of a teacher, wouldn't it be easier for him to take action to poach you? It's too late for you to cry. The panda opened his mouth. Crazy, Yi Goose, is there really no problem with you doing this? 1 second he was a junior, and the next second he was a teacher. This feeling of disparity. Inawan has white hair and a high-collared guard covers his mouth, tuna, expressing surprise. The corners of Maki's mouth curved slightly. Compared to others who were surprised or opposed, she actually agreed very much. The 8-gate Dunjia that Shalo taught her before, she can already skillfully open the 2nd gate. Her strength has improved a lot, and Panda Gowan can no longer satisfy her with physical training alone. Now that Shalo has become a teacher, wouldn't it be easier to get his guidance? If you want to become stronger quickly, you must find a way to drain him. The other teachers already knew about the situation and did not show any surprise. Except for Utahime who just returned from the mission. The response is so intense, it seems that everyone very much recognizes Shalo as a teacher. Then, Natsuliu will be responsible for teaching the 1st and 2nd grade students together with Gojo Satoru. Night Goose Masamiki showed a dangerous smile and glanced down. He wants to see who dares to object. Especially the panda who was the loudest just now. He had to be more careful about Shalo's salty personality, otherwise if he gave up his responsibilities and quit, where would he go to cry? No one objects, so let's ask a few questions and adjourn the meeting. Me, Gojo Satoru, who had sneaked into the student camp, suddenly stood up from his seat and raised his hands. Teacher Shalo, may I ask where you learned all those weird warlocks from? He had wanted to ask this question for a long time, especially when he came back this time to listen to other teachers. When Shalo hit the curse spirit, he breathed fire, released water, and even rolled balls. Although he had never seen it, just hearing it aroused his curiosity. Yes, we also want to know, Shalo, classmate. Bah, how did the teacher master so many warlocks? For a moment, everyone didn't care about Shalo becoming a teacher. Instead, they were more curious about Shalo's skill package. The one who feels the most deeply here is Itadori. At that time, his consciousness was vaguely occupied by Susanoo, and he almost fell into coma. But who could have imagined that a thunderous sound suddenly sounded in his ears, followed by an electric current that paralyzed his whole body, directly waking him up for a moment. This is probably why he was able to wake up early. Those moves were all hitting him solidly. Therefore, he has the most say. Not only the students, but Meimei Shoko and Nanami Utahime also cast interested glances. Shalo was ashamed. This question was a bit tricky. Where did you learn it? Don't ask. Just ask and the system will give it to you. But he can't really tell the system. In the expectant eyes of everyone, Shalo uttered 4 words. I learned it online. The scene was silent. Everyone looked at Shalo with disbelief. Everything I said is true. I can swear that if you lie to me, I will never eat coriander in my life. Everyone. Hey, you don't eat coriander to begin with, okay. At this time, Meimei stood up. Okay, everyone has their own secret, don't force it. Everyone. Tisk, now I'm starting to speak for my family. The meeting was over and the teachers had dispersed. On the playground, Panda Inamaki is sparring with Kugasaki and Itadori. Shalo sat on the steps, thinking about what was about to happen next. It seems that Kugasaki has also mastered some of the essentials of 8-gate Dunjia. If you read it correctly, when she shouted and knocked the panda flying away, she used to open the door. Looking at the panda's shocked expression, Shalo wanted to laugh. I guess it didn't expect that the newbies in this class would be so fierce, right? Shaliu. A cold female voice sounded from my ears. Maki sat down side by side with him a little awkwardly, looking like he was hesitant to speak. After all, what happened last time is still vivid in my mind. I don't know, does he still have his stockings? No, I obviously have other things to do, so why do I always think of these things involuntarily? Looking at Maki, who was shaking his head wildly, he was speechless. We are all family members. If you have anything to say, just say it. This is not like your character. Maki knew that the family member he was talking about naturally meant Xiao. Well, I'm here to thank you. Since I learned the body surgery you gave me, Panda and the others can no longer keep up with my strength. So if you were free recently, I would like to ask for your advice. Then, her face turned slightly red and her voice sounded like a mosquito. I'm wearing black stockings. Hiss. Shalo took a breath of cold air. If you want to say that, then I will be free. As for Night Goose Masamiki wanting to talk to him, let him wait first. I am now a teacher. How can I refuse when a kawaii student asks for advice? Maki-kun, I'm free, and I can give you any advice. High level of magic. In a magic cave, the atmosphere is solemn. Several discerning attendants saw the opportunity and retreated on their own initiative. At this time, an old voice sounded. We have obviously transferred Gojo Satoru away, but we still let Itadori survive. Boom. Inside the door, a crutch dripped, issuing a dissatisfied warning. According to the informant, all this is because of a newcomer named Shalo. Shalo. An old man opened his wrinkled eyelids. I have never heard of such a person. According to reports from informants, he just joined the college not long ago, and the introducer was Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru. As soon as these words came out, a trace of surprise flashed in the eyes of several old men, and they secretly said trouble. Gojo Satoru, who came as the Son of God, can easily destroy an entire country with his extraordinary strength. Really do it, there is no one like me in the world. That's why they found it troublesome. If Itadori was moved this time, he must have noticed it. Therefore, they dare not take any action during this Shalo. If Gojo Satoru is forced to panic, the consequences will be disastrous. If that's the case, then call these 2 people over and give them a good beating. Agree. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.